Hello, everyone. Welcome to robnoerr Show. Your host, robnoerr. Weird angle here. There we go. Hope you are having a fantastic day. I know I am. Got a show lined up for you tonight. Is it a good one? You'll have to stay to the end and then make a judgment. Because it could be a shitty show for the first, 90% of it, and then the last 10% could be on fire. We don't know. So you got to stick around till the end. As always, I appreciate you all being here. We'll talk about Bidenomics a little today. Of course, more things about Biden family corruption have came up today. We'll talk about that because after all, what is Bidenomics other than all of us being broke except the Bidens making money hand over fist? That's what Bidenomics is about, right? Corrupt oligarchs get enriched. Military defense contractors getting enriched. Biden family gets enriched. You pay more. That's Bidenomics. Working out well, right? So we'll talk about that. Some of the news that's breaking today. A New York judge had a ruling against Donald Trump today, furthering the political persecution. This time claiming, I haven't read much about the claim, but that Trump overvalued his properties and therefore he can no longer operate as an investor in New York, etc., etc. We'll talk about that a little. But yeah, it should be a good show. We'll see. Maybe we'll chum in some lefty debate. We'll talk a little illegal immigration as well. I chummed in some, at least one lefty on Twitter. Maybe we'll start there. But yeah, we'll give everyone a chance to get into the show. Do a little riffing before we get into it. Someone correctly pointed out on my video last night, I kept using the word iconography. What's the word? Iconography, is that what I should have been saying? But I was mispronouncing it. Womp womp. What can you do? So I have a lot to say on sort of some of the news story that's came out here about Biden corruption that's come out of Comer's office. Let me just black pill you. Spoiler alert. Nothing will come of it. Thank you, Zero Ohms. Really appreciate the subscription. Thank you. They'll out the corruption like they did with the Russia collusion hoax, and then no one will pay the price. Whoopsie daisy. Then it's up to the American people whether they decide to be upset or not. But they're counting on the fact that because they control so many of these venues that control the flow of information, that they'll be able to keep it hush-hush. What's up, Grace? How's it going? Hope everything's going well. I FaceTimed my son and my wife before I came on. I don't know what Hank was doing, but he found this giant, 40-ounce... What the heck was that? 40-ounce bottle of water. He was just lugging around the house, this big water bottle. I'm glad to hear it. Now the pressure's on. Did I pronounce it Zeromes? I hope so. I hope that was the correct pronunciation. More monies for Rob. Yeah. The beard needs trimmed, actually. You can't really tell, but it's very, it's disheveled. Varying lengths down here. So hopefully tomorrow I'm going to get it trimmed up. And then I'll show you something here. I think it's funny. One of the comments I get a lot when I debate left-wing people, they'll be like, this dude wears a hat because he's balding. Let me tell you why I'm wearing a hat, all right? Let's just dispel the rumors, right? While we're talking about facial hair and grooming and things like that, all right? I'm going to dispel the rumors as to why I wear a hat, right? It's because I'm balding. Look at this. Ah! They got me. That is the exact reason. That is the exact reason I'm wearing a hat. You got me. I don't really give a shit, though. I gotta be honest. Me being bald doesn't really affect me. It affects my wife. She's the one who has to look at me. And so, There's a Curb Your Enthusiasm I really like where Larry's wearing like a woman's sun hat to the beach. And his friend Jeff's like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm married. That's how I feel. I don't care. But I was not a big hat guy. So once in a blue moon, I'd wear a hat. But I used to have long hair when I was more of a drunk. So I'll be honest. I did shave it. I liked it shaved. My wife did not. So this is what you get. She basically... I don't really give a shit. So... She doesn't like it completely shaved for various reasons, so I get it trimmed really short, but that's about it. Yeah, that's why I grew a beard first. So I was always clean shaven in high school, and then I just became lazy once I got to college. There are people that know me based on my facial hair time period. So like, if I run into high school friends, they're like, "Oh my God, you have a beard." But if I run into college friends and I wouldn't have the beard, they'd have no idea who I was. So, but enough about my hair. And it's graying and it's patchy and balding. Enough about that. Let's talk about Bidenomics. What do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about immigration? You want to talk about Bidenomics? Let's talk about immigration for a minute. So, there's this lefty that's... Am I and Destiny besties? No, I wouldn't say that at all. I would not say that I'm besties with Destiny. I would say that we probably disagree on 95% of things politically. I don't hate him. That's all I could say. I wouldn't say we're besties. You guys remember the statue, right? Isn't that, I was reliably told, forget about the Constitution, forget about what's right for the people of this country, forget about, bringing in people that financially benefit the country or help the people or assimilating people into their community. Forget about all that stuff. It's the statue, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? You remember the statue? You remember that, right? What statue? Aren't you American, Nico? You don't know the statue? You guys don't know? There's this statue, like, in New York City. You guys didn't know about that? It's this big statue. It's got, like, a torch. It helped them fight Ghost in Ghostbusters 2. That's it! The Statue of Liberty. That's the name of it. Right. And doesn't it have a poem on it? And doesn't the poem basically say, yeah, you're a racist piece of shit if you don't accept every illegal ever? Right? That's what it says. That's what I was told anytime I questioned, the border and mass illegal immigration and things like that. We were constantly told, but what about the statue? The statue says we have to accept every illegal. Right? That's what the statute says. And that's why we have sanctuary cities, because those are cities that understand what this country's really about. It's about bringing your tired, your poor, your worried masses, right? That's what this country's about. Thank God, all these racist areas like where I live, just a bunch of total heathen racists. Thank God we have noble places like Martha's Vineyard in New York City and a bunch of other places that are sanctuary cities. Thank God. They're the best. Because illegal immigrants, as you all know, they commit less crime than the average American citizen. They're just the best. They're the greatest for the economy. Their culture's the best. Like, everything about illegal immigrants is better than the people in this country. And that's why we can accept an infinite amount of them. It just helps the economy. Every debate I've had on this topic since I've been streaming, it's all, oh my God, they're so great for the economy and they culturally enrich us and they barely commit any crime. They're just fantastic. They're just the greatest. I remember writing a blog back in 2017, and I was like, you know what country's better than the United States? Because the United States isn't progressive enough. But you know what country's better? Canada, right? U.S., there's still so many racists around here that want border security. Build the wall. That's racist. Statute doesn't say build the wall. Statute says bring everyone in. Right? And you know what country's better than the United States? Canada. They're super socialists, like free healthcare in Canada. It's the best place ever. Right? They're not racist. So I was like, why don't we just have a win-win? Why do us racists in the United States, why do we deserve all of the awesome benefits that come with mass illegal immigration? Like, it's all benefits. Better culturally, better for crime, better economically. Everything about every single illegal that comes is better than every Native American citizen. Every single one. So why do a bunch of racists in the United States, why are they entitled to the benefits of these illegals? We should do everything possible to help these illegals. Why put them with these racists? They're going to benefit these racist areas like border cities where, predominantly Hispanic people are like, we don't want any more illegals. They're racist. That's racist. Haven't they read the statute? The statute, remember? That's what our foreign policy should be, the statute. Why do we deserve the benefit? So I wrote in 2017, why don't we pick all the illegals up on the southern border and ship them to Canada? It's a win-win, right? Surely Canada, that's less racist than the United States and it's more progressive and more socialist, they'll be more than happy to receive all of these tremendous benefits from these illegals, and the illegals will receive more benefit. They'll have free healthcare and all of this stuff. That's great. It's a win-win. Hell, Canada will be the world power within 5-6 years of unfettered illegal immigration, right? Oh, what's that? Canada strictly restricts who can get into their country? How can that be? Hasn't anyone explained the statute to them? Hasn't anyone read, Forbes and the Cato Institute that say, no, illegals are great for your economy? That's what all the studies say. It's settled science, just like climate change. It's settled. There's a consensus. Illegals are the best. They're great. Ask all of these wealthy people that employ illegals for near slave labor wages that commission these studies. All the studies say it's great. It's fantastic. It's good stuff. Consensus. Oh, well, Canada won't take them. Well, surely Martha's Vineyard will, right? Surely the sanctuary city, they know. And by the way, what better place for illegals? Do you want illegals winding up in places, red areas where people are racist? Why should these red areas, why should they benefit from illegal immigration? Why should they? Send them to the places. It'd be better for these illegals to end up in sanctuary cities because that's cities that appreciate how great they are. Right? That's where they deserve to be. The sanctuary city people are more moral, so they deserve to have the benefits of illegal immigration. And the illegal immigrants deserve to go somewhere where they'll be appreciated. The sanctuary cities. Places like Martha's Vineyard. Maybe Aspen, Colorado. How about New York City? Send them all there, right? Why keep them in these poor border towns? Why do it? Yeah, Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, 48 hours that's weird. Now we have the mayor of New York constantly saying like, we can't handle anymore. We just can't handle any more illegals. Here's what the mayor said today. Let me see. I'll get the official numbers. Excuse me. Not good. Colin Rugg says, boomer moment here. New York City is gearing up to pay over $1 billion on just hotels over the next 3 years to house illegal immigrants. But that's just hotel costs. New York City Mayor Eric Adams estimates the total cost of the migrants will be $12 billion over the next 3 years. Quote, "We are past our breaking point," he said. "With more than 57,300 individuals current in care on an average night, it amounts to $9.8 million a day, almost $300 million a month, and nearly $3.6 billion a year. Residents in New York City have had enough. The video below, Staten Island locals were arrested for blocking migrant buses. Racist. These are racist. Get these racists out of here. What? I didn't know there were racists in New York City. That can't be true, though. That can't be true. How can that be true? I've been told by everyone, there's a consensus. The science is settled. The economics are settled. Illegal immigrants are better than average Americans. They're better. They're better for the economy. They're great. That's what the statue says. It's right there, New York. Just go look at the statue. You guys are a sanctuary city. You bragged about it. You were so happy to be a sanctuary city. You're so much better than all of these red areas that were inundated that could only have like a population of 50,000 people that were being asked to have 5,000, 6,000 people, illegals, coming through their communities on a daily basis. They were smug racist, you said. Not you. You're a great sanctuary city. Remember the statue. That's our foreign policy. That's our border policy. The statue. The statue says bring everyone in. They're all great. Give us your huddled masses. Okay, you got them. How can this be? Why is Mayor Adams a racist? Why is he? He's clearly a racist. Clearly the economic figures he's citing are bullshit. Clearly they are. We all know it's settled. It's settled. The economics are settled. Illegal immigration is a mass benefit economically. It's a mass benefit culturally. These are where our doctors are coming from, our engineers, all of the important jobs. That's what the illegal immigrants do. They're excelling in school. You plug them right into schools, they assimilate immediately. They fit right in. They're top of the class. That's who they are. Does it look like I gained 30 pounds? Maybe I did. I didn't weigh myself today, I guess. Why? I don't understand. It's been settled. I debated Econoboy. I debate Bisco. I debate insert any lefty. They all tell me, no, Rob, haven't you read the studies? Illegals are great for any community they're in. They're fantastic. Benefit economically, benefit culturally. They assimilate really super great. They commit less crime than average Americans. There's no downside. It's great. I don't get it. You know what the problem must be? Here's what the problem must be. There's just not enough illegals in New York. If we doubled the amount, collect them from all over the country and send them to New York, then they'll see the benefits. Then all of the people in Staten Island and the rest, then they'll say, okay, now we get it. Now we understand. Now we see how this was benefit. We just didn't have enough of it. That was the problem, right? Same with Martha's Vineyard. 48, what they have, under 50 for 48 hours? Send them like 5,000. Then they'll see, they'll be like, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. Look at all these great... Oh, what's that? It's time to take Trump's... What's that? Chicken out of my mouth, don't you think? Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Long Fat Dong. Now, I know with a name like that, clearly genitalia is going to be on your mind quite frequently. I've criticized Trump probably more effectively than any of you losers on the left have, but I understand that Orange Man's all you think about, and you're probably salivating with drool coming out of your mouth as you're sleeping every night, thinking about what you would do to fillet that man, or anyone who's voted for him or supported him in any way. I choose to not think about the genitals of politicians and things like that, but I'm glad that that's something that's deeply on your mind. And I do emphasize the word deeply because we know with a name like Long Fat Dong that surely you're not thinking of just, nibbling around the edges. You'd dive right in there full-throated, right? We know what you would. But hey, thanks so much for playing. I really appreciate it. Any final words? Anything else you want to say about anyone's genitals? Nah. Okay. Ooh. Gotta open my new water here in a minute. all of the studies, all of the science, all of the think tanks telling you how great illegal immigration is, why is it that lefties don't want them in their communities? Why do you think? Genitalia. Yeah, I hear your earshots. I hear she's great. Victor Davis Hanson, one of the things he says all the time is, these authoritarian lefties wish you to live in a utopia that they'll never have the misfortune of living in. They got all these great virtue-signaling social experiments that they want you to have to deal with. Not them, though. Lockdowns for you, not them. Vaccine passport for you, not them. Remember when I debated Dylan Burns on this and he said, oh, yes, you should have to be shut down. You should have to have a vaccine passport to do something like go buy groceries. But not to protest. Because I'm worried, me and my lefty friends, when we go protest, if we have to have an ID, that the government could use that nefariously. But not you, not you. You need the ID to do the things you want. It's almost like, if you were just a little skeptical, you might say, geez, maybe all these studies were full of shit. All the studies say that air conditioning's bad for you. But how come all the people doing studies are using air conditioning then? Well, never mind that. But I assure you, air conditioning's bad for you. You'll feel less comfortable with air conditioning. It doesn't seem to make sense. But the Cato Institute did $1 million research paper on this, and it's definitive. Look at the numbers. It's great. And that's exactly it, Zeromes. It does increase the GDP. Yes, having cheap labor does benefit the higher end people in this country. It benefits the people that are looking to hire people. It harms the people that have to compete economically or live in these communities that are now in a competition for resources and labor with these people. But if you're the people hiring cheap labor, it's great. Remember when Alyssa Milano came out and she tweeted like back early in Trump's presidency? She was like, if we got rid of the illegals, who would clean our toilets? Who would mow our yards? Right. They need a serf class. That's what the wealthy want. They want serfs. They want the little immigrant maid that's taking care of their kids that they don't give a shit about. That walks their dog that they don't give a shit about. That mows their lawn. That's what they want. And yeah, I'm sure it does increase GDP. But as I've read from reports and how you could see that it would just make sense, what's the trade-off? Sure, it benefits the people at the high end of the economy, but the people that suffer the most are the people that are directly in competition, low-skilled, low-education labor, who happen to be disproportionately in the black community. But that's okay, fuck black people then, right, Democrats? That's okay. You see a lot of these people in New York, a lot of these communities that are speaking up, going viral, almost all black people in some of the videos. How can that be? Don't they know that all of these illegals moving into their community, reshaping the community, getting all of these free assets, don't they know that it's all a boon? That it's all great for them? Well, the reason that nothing's been done about illegal immigration is Democrats like illegal immigration because they want a shift in demographics and they want compliant people that eventually they'll give the right to vote so that they can swing elections. And Republicans' donors that are corporations and wealthy business owners, they want the cheap labor. It's a win-win. The only people that lose are the American people, the average people. You lose. And by the way, that's to say nothing of the illegal immigrant themselves. If I knew that I could come to a country because of stupid leadership there and be given a bunch of benefits and be treated better than the native population of that place, I'd probably go there too. What's odd about Twitch? I don't know. Anyone else on Twitch having a problem? But you can see this interaction that's just indicative of what's going on. So in response to this idea that it's costing New York billions, this is what I said. This can't be true. Every left-winger I've debated has assured me all illegal immigrants are a massive boon to the economy. I think New York, a wonderful sanctuary city, should receive even more benefits from these illegals. Send them more. And here we have MiGutzi. MiGutzi says, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize the expenditure of providing temporary housing for migrants is the end-all be-all of immigration's impact on the economy. Weird. Here's an article from Forbes. I said, exactly. New York needs millions more. It'll be a great benefit to them. Same with Martha's Vineyard. He says, you're refusing to look at the data. Laughing my ass off. Very honest of you, Rob. I say, no, I'm agreeing with you. Illegals are the best ever. And sanctuary cities are the most moral places. It's a match made in heaven. Send all the illegals to New York. Everyone wins. He says, you realize that immigrants, even illegal ones, commit less crime than natural-born citizens, right? Do you know that sanctuary city even means? Tell me, Rob, steel man the position on why the left supports sanctuary cities. I said, why can't you see I'm agreeing with you? Yes, illegals are better than us crappy Americans. Send more to sanctuary cities. I'm sure all of the people in New York know all of the data and love getting thousands upon thousands of more illegals. He says, imagine thinking you're an honest actor when you talk like this. Disappointing, pathetic, honestly. I said, weird, why would you think I'm being dishonest? The debate's settled. Illegals are the best ever. I'm agreeing with you. Send more to the cities like New York. It's almost like you think they aren't so great. And the people of New York feel that way too. Nah, that can't be the case. I don't understand. We're all in agreement. I'm in agreement with the left on this. Total agreement with them. You're right. I'm done arguing. Absolutely right. Illegals are the best ever. They commit less crime. They're just the best. They're the greatest economically. Send more to New York. I don't deserve them in my community. My community's not good enough. It didn't declare itself a sanctuary. Why should we get the benefit? Send them to New York. And then this guy's like, why don't you agree with me? Look, here's more data that says how good illegals are. Totally agree. You don't have to convince me anymore. Absolutely agree. You could cite 1,000 studies. I'll go to every one. Yep, absolutely right. Yep, you're right. Yep. Illegals are the best. Yep, they commit less crime. Yep, they're better people. Yeah, they have better smiles. Yes, they're more attractive. Better fashion sense. Better food. Commit less crime. Yep. Straight down the better students. Yep, totally agree. They make better doctors. Absolutely. Better entertainment choices. Oh, they're all better singers. They're better actors. Better athletes. They're literally better than the only people that that are just far and away better than illegals are trans people. Because we all know, as trans positive Rob's told you, trans people are gods amongst men. Or women, whatever word you want to use. Trans are the best, but only slightly down from trans, only slightly down are illegals. They're the best. Why, when I'm agreeing with you, why do you say, but what about this study? Yeah, I agree with that study. That study is also great. Yep, send more to New York. Totally get it. Yep. Let's send some. You sound like this Mr. Gutsy person sounds like a great guy. He sounds great. Let's send like 3,000 to his neighborhood. It'd be like winning the lottery. He'd wake up, yes, a bunch of people that don't speak the language. Almost all military-aged males moving into my community. Woo! Great! I've won the lottery. We hit the Powerball. We did it. Please, by all means, move in. We have a spare bedroom. Right? The debate's settled on. What's the argument? I don't get it. Why aren't you taking this seriously? I'm dead serious. Send them. Yeah. Absolutely. Defund the police, DeSharon. Absolutely. Police are evil, terrible. No bail. Isn't it weird that they spend so much effort trying to convince people in red areas, people in border areas that don't want more illegal immigration? They spend so much time and energy being like, let us convince you that this is good for you. And when you're like, you know what? if they're so great, why don't you take them? They're like, no, we don't want that. But here's a bunch of evidence why it's good for you. It's good for you. In your community, this would be great. But in our things are different in our communities. They're different. But your community, it'd be great for you. Here's some more studies. These studies will be great. And look, the GDP will go up. Tyson Chicken now has cheap employers, so I get to pay less for my chicken sandwich. Fantastic. Oh, illegals are picking avocados at cheap prices. Great, my avocado toast will be so much cheaper now. But not in my community. We don't deserve the benefit. Just in your red areas. Send them to the red areas. Keep them in the border areas. Let's convince you. Well, that's dishonest of you, Rob. Where's the dishonesty? Let's say I take a position. I'm like, we should defund the FBI. And someone on the left goes, okay, great. Yeah, defund them. I'd say, thank you very much. Sounds good. Awesome. I wouldn't say, but wait, here's more evidence why we need to defund. Why are you being dishonest? I don't give a shit. If that's what they're going to advocate for, great. That's what I want. So, if you're someone on the left that supports illegal immigration, fantastic. I'm done fighting you on it. Great. Send them to your community. Send them to New York City. Send them to the sanctuary cities. Right? But wait, here's more evidence. Here's more evidence that illegals are better than average Americans. Totally agree. Yep. I wonder why all these lefties, and it's, of course, I'm in a unique space, like the online debate sphere type place, right? But how about the bigger lefties, the CNNs, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Democrat politician, all the people that told us how it was racist, how horrible it was to want a border wall, to stop illegal immigration. Why aren't any of them condemning Mayor Adams? Where are they at? Shouldn't they be holding rallies calling him a racist? Shouldn't they be calling the people of New York that are upset, that are protesting against more illegals in their community, shouldn't they be calling them all racist? That's what you do, right? Huh. That's weird. Where are they? Oh, he's black, and he's a Democrat. Ooh. Yeah, I didn't see AOC criticizing Mayor Adams. I didn't see her calling people racist that were protesting in front of her. I didn't see that. It was weird. I saw that report in Zero Hedge. I haven't had time to delve into the numbers, but yeah, they did report that 1.2 American-born workers have been replaced by nearly 700,000 foreign-born workers, I believe since 2020, since we started to have lockdowns. So a lot of these jobs that have been created under those are foreign-born workers coming in. Yeah, I saw that EOD as well. Remember, walls and fences are racist. That's racist. Huh. So I just thought that was interesting. Remember the statue? Wasn't someone saying that to Mayor Adams? Excuse me, the statue? Mayor Adams, let's take you a little trip to the harbor here. See this statue? There's a poem on it. Maybe you need to memorize that and then say, thank you very much for the lesson. Please send us 1 million more illegals. Right? That would be the correct way to deal with this, right? I don't want to hear Adams. What's Adams talking about? Money? Housing? That, excuse me? The poem on the statue? Please stop being racist talking about money you're spending. This is an investment in your city. Bring all of these legal. And by the way, don't put them in poor neighborhoods. Don't do that. Put them in the upper class New York. The socialite neighborhoods. That's where they need to go. That's where they'll do the most good. Like Martha's Vineyard. Put them there. That's a good place for them. And also, if you were worried whether or not there was a migrant crisis, all you have to do is look at Joe Biden and his spokesperson, Karen Jean-Pierre. She tells us all the time, there's no border crisis. Biden's doing a tremendous job securing the border. Now, I know you think you're seeing actual video evidence from places like Eagle Pass, and you're seeing the numbers suggesting tens of thousands a day are coming in. That's Russian disinformation. You know what that is? That sounds like Nazi talking points. To me, that's what it sounds like. That Vladimir Putin is photoshopping illegals at Eagle Pass. That's what's going on. It's not happening. But if it is happening, it's good, because illegals are good. But it's not happening. And it's Trump and it's Putin's fault. That's what's happening. It's Putin and Trump's fault. So, and then there's the statue. We wish it was happening. It would be great. The statue says it would be great if it was happening, but it's not happening. But if it was, it would be good. Right? It's the most secure border ever. 2020 was the most secure election ever. 2023 is literally the most secure border ever. But if it wasn't, that's good too. It would be good if it wasn't the most secure ever, if we were leaving illegals in. But it is the most secure ever. And if it wasn't, it would be great, and it'd be Putin's fault. But it'd also be great. So we're not giving Putin credit, even though it's great. If the border's not secure, it's great. And maybe you saw pictures of migrants in cages. Those are just temporary comfort facilities that they're in. Those aren't kids in cages. Those are comfortable facilities that those children are in, that those migrants are in. I don't even know who Tim Ballard is. The guy from Sound of Freedom, I think. No, I haven't heard any of that. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, Fist Evans. Anyways, moving on from the most secure border ever to the greatest economy you've ever seen, Bidenomics. Now listen, I know I talk a lot of shit on Biden and our establishment, including establishment people in the Republican and Democratic Party. I know I talk a lot of shit. And I know that for years, I've been saying, since like 6 months into Biden's administration, with the economic woes that we were predictably facing, by the way, some of it on Trump, supporting the lockdown type policies with the massive money printing, yeah. But certainly even worse under Biden and the Democrats. Thank you, It's Me Chuckles, for the subscription. Really appreciate it. I know I've been talking a lot about how absurd it is that they're not saying, the messaging hasn't been this. Yes, it's a difficult economy right now for a huge amount of people in this country. And we know that the average American is feeling the crunch when they go fill up their gas can, and when they go buy groceries, or when they're trying to buy a home, or they're trying to buy a vehicle. We absolutely get it. We think a lot of this was out of our hands. It had to do with COVID policies. It has to do with international economic situations, conflicts, things like that. But certainly, the American people need help. And we're going to try to do our best to get this ship righted. But that's not what they said. They said, greatest economy ever. Bidenomics, baby. Everyone's doing great. What? You can see article after article from all these economic experts. All of the economic data looks good. Paul Krugman said the other day, the guy that thought that the washing machine would have more of an impact on the economy than the internet. That guy, who also told you the stock market was going to crash if Trump was elected. That guy, profound economic thinker, Paul Krugman. He's like, look, people are looking at these inflation numbers, but if you take out things like food and energy and housing, actually it doesn't look that bad. Great, yeah, absolutely great point, Paul Krugman. There's an expert in economics. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, if you don't have to buy anything, then inflation's not really a big deal. Can't you just eat sand and live in a fucking hut? Just put a garbage bag over yourself, sleep in the street, and eat fucking dirt on the road, and don't drive a car, and now things don't look that bad. You're not spending that much money anymore, right? Brilliant, Paul Krugman. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. The experts are on this one. Constantly you see them, articles being written. When people are asked, why are they so down on the economy? What's wrong with these stupid fucking people? Can't they see what a rosy economic situation we're in? If you're poor, it must be your fault. Because the economy is gangbusters, baby. Seems like a poor economic strategy. However, I get it now. Not so much the Paul Krugmans, but I get Biden. Now I understand. He thinks Bidenomics is great. And who could blame him? You see, he's getting 10%. The big guy's doing quite well. The Chinese government, Burisma executives and shit, Biden family's doing absolutely great. Bidenomics looks great to them. They're probably awash in chocolate chip. Joe Biden's doing fantastic. He can't understand. What the fuck's wrong with all of you people out there? Why are you all complaining? Why don't you just send your son to work for corrupt oligarchs and then give kickbacks to which you'll take 10% of? You'll be doing great economically. I don't understand what's so hard about this. Strange. And then you understand, you're like, oh, I get it. That's why he thinks Bidenomics. He's like, it's doing great for me, Jack. Here, let me move these classified documents and we'll go for a ride in my Ferrari or whatever the fuck car he drives. You'll see how great the economy is. Don't fucking worry about gas prices. I'll just send my son to go work for another corrupt foreign oligarch party and we'll be able to afford gas. Don't worry about it. Corvette, that's what it is, yeah. I don't know if you knew this, but Corvettes actually, the new Corvette models are actually legally allowed to be skiffs. So that you know what a skiff is? I forget exactly what it stands for, but it's the little chamber you go into to view classified documents. It's a great ad. It'd be a great ad for Chevy, you know. The 2024 Corvette. Highest horsepower in class. 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Legally allowed to hold classified documents. Corvette. The Corv Skiff, yeah. Now it makes sense. Doing great, Ninja. Biden thinks the economy's doing great. No one's told him, like, Mr. President, excuse me, come here. Other people don't have their son go into business with corrupt oligarchs and then give kickbacks to their father. That's not how the average person works. And Joe Biden's like, but I'm from Scranton. I'm from Scranton. Like, that's what Corn Pop does, right? You know, when those girls were rubbing my legs, telling me how hairy they were as I was sniffing little girls, and I was storing classified documents next to my Corvette, I was assured by Corn Pop that that's how all Americans make their money. No, Mr. President, that's actually not how the average person. From James Comer's office today. China Wires list Joe's home as beneficiary address. A few months after Joe Biden announced his candidacy in 2019, information available to the committee shows Hunter Biden received 2 wires from China for $250,000 and $10,000, including from Jonathan Lee. More alarming, the wires have Joe Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware as the beneficiary address. Weeks after those payments were made, Hunter's lawyer George Messiers said Hunter Biden served with BHR only as a member of its board of directors, which is purportedly an unpaid position. Here's the breakdown of events. 2009 to 2017, during his time vice president and prior to later payments to Hunter Biden, evidence shows Joe Biden developed a familiar relationship with Jonathan Lee. Devin Archer, a business associate, described how Joe Biden met with Jonathan Lee for coffee in Beijing. had a phone call with him and wrote college recommendation letters for his children. April 25th, 2019, Joe Biden announced his candidacy for the 2020 election. July 26, 2019, Wang Jin wired $10,000 to Joe Biden's home listed on The Wire. August 2nd, 2019, Jonathan Lee wired $250,000 with Joe Biden's home listed on The Wire. October 13, 2019, George Messiers, who served as Hunter Biden's lawyer, stated in part that Hunter Biden served on BHR only as a member of its board of directors, which is purportedly an unpaid position. October 22nd, 2020, during the presidential debate, Joe Biden said, "My son has not made any money in China." Now you understand why Bidenomics looks good to Joe. The Chinese government's sending money to my home. $250,000, Jack. That's a lot of chocolate chip. Now, I haven't had time to delve into this deeply, but let's go to an issue that looks unrelated for a moment. Let's talk about Senator Bob Menendez. Now, Bob Menendez was accused years ago of hiring underage prostitutes, I think in Puerto Rico or something like that. And the FBI charged him, and he got let off on a hung jury. But one of the committees on the Senate, somewhere in Congress, excoriated him for corrupt practices. Yet he was still put in a prominent position in the Senate on like the Foreign Intelligence Committee or something to that. Don't quote me on the exact committee. Now there's allegations that his wife was, hear me out here, right? So his wife started a business where she's involved in all of these corrupt entities, particularly in places like Egypt, where she's facilitating all sorts of arrangements to get communications and access to her husband, who is a senator, and then she's receiving huge amounts of money, including gold bars, coats that are lined with money, and things like that. Does that story sound familiar to you? Prominent politician having a loved one act as an intermediary, getting paid huge amounts of money from people that we are told are corrupt. Foreign Relations Committee, that's it. Where have I heard that story? I feel like that's something I've talked about a lot. I can't put my finger on it, though. Which other family had someone that was getting paid by corrupt foreign institutions? What could it have been? I don't know. It's coming a wash. Anyways, so many Democrats, are out there like, yeah, Bob Menendez needs to go. He needs to go. See, we're good people when our side does something corrupt. No, what they're doing is the same thing they did with Al Franken. If there was, Menendez in New Jersey, I believe, if there was a Republican governor right now in New Jersey, none of the Democrats would be calling for Menendez to step down. Why? Because then the Republican governor would get to choose the replacement. But it's a Democrat governor. And so Menendez is easily expendable. Not because he did something that the establishment Republicans and Democrats don't also do. He was just more brazen about it. That's all. And it doesn't hurt the Democrats to cut the dead weight at this point and get someone new in there. So that's what they're calling for. Not all of them, but that's what a lot are calling for. Now do Joe Biden. Oh, well, that's different. Yeah, when she starts her art career, right. Now let's go through the defense. So now we know, in 2019, officials from Chinese government institutions that had, while Joe Biden was vice president, been meeting with Joe Biden for coffee, getting letters of recommendations for their children to get in college. Right as Joe Biden's announcing a run for presidency, all of a sudden they're sending $250,000 to Joe Biden's house. But don't check Biden's bank records. Don't do that. There's no need to check Biden's bank records. None at all. Now let's go with what the defense will be. Well, in 2019, Joe Biden wasn't president. He wasn't vice president. True. But if these were people that were considered from hostile foreign countries that he was giving favors and access to, like having coffee with and writing letters of recommendation while he was vice president, and then once he announces he's running for president again, all of a sudden they're sending money to his home. Seems like it'd be worth launching an investigation. Seems like it'd be worth looking into Joe Biden's bank records to make sure that all the money's on the up and up. Instead, we've done the exact opposite. Instead, when the IRS attempted to look into bank records that could be connected to Joe Biden, they were told, no, you can't do that. Also, Joe Biden lied. He said it was all Russian disinformation, the laptop. And his son, it was bullshit. 51 former intel agencies said it was all bullshit. He wasn't getting money from China. Whoops. I never talked to my son about business deals. Whoops. Well, maybe Joe Biden didn't get the money. Maybe it was Hunter Biden living there. Okay, it was still money going to the household. And this is one of the biggest lies that even myself, not lies, but a framing of the issue that even someone like myself falls for once in a while. It doesn't matter if Joe Biden ever got a dime. Let me ask the audience here. How many people in the audience have children? Just say yes if you've had children. How many of you are parents? You'll see why I ask in a minute. Because I got a question directly to the parents. Well, fist to heavens. We're not all scoundrels like you. A nephew could count, but parents a little more unique. If you're a parent, what are you more concerned with? As long as you have enough money that you have a home, you're eating every day. Would you rather personally enrich yourself or make sure that your child is financially cared for the rest of their life? I know which one I would choose. Would you rather have money so you could take a couple extra trips to Vegas? Buy that new Corvette and Lambo that you wanted? Have that third lake house like Bernie Sanders? Or would you want your child to be financially taken care of the rest of your life? Why does it matter if Joe Biden ever received a dime? Yeah, it would look worse if Joe Biden himself was personally enriched. But imagine Bob Menendez comes out and his defense is this. I didn't get any of that money. It was all my wife's. It wasn't my money. That's my wife's money. We don't intermingle our finances. So my wife chose to have a business relationship with people in Egypt and things like that. There's no evidence that I was specifically altering my policies to benefit the people that were in financial relationships with my wife. It's not my money, so everything's gravy. Imagine if that was Bob Menendez's argument. You would rightfully say, yeah, that sounds like bullshit to me. But Joe Biden's son? Now, let's steel man the argument. The argument might be something like this. Yes, but you can't really control everything that your child's doing. So it's still possible, that Joe Biden didn't have any financial incentive. Maybe he didn't mind Hunter Biden making money, but he didn't know any of the details of it and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that might fly if their excuse isn't going to be, well, Hunter Biden lived with his dad. That's money directly coming in to the Biden household. Oh, by the way, the same house that these classified documents were in. Oh, by the way, the same house that IRS agents were told that they weren't allowed to serve a search warrant because it would be bad for optics. That's going to be their argument. That's going to be the argument that Hunter Biden was just getting his mail sent to Joe Biden's house. So when the check for $250,000 got wired there, it's nothing to do with Joe Biden. That's all Hunter Biden. That's going to be their argument. I'm not bullshitting you. That's going to be the argument. It's the same old. Here's the same playbook that they'll do. No one's talking about it right now. I'll guarantee you turn on CNN, you go to the New York Times, there's going to be very few people, intrepid journalists, very few of them that will be talking about this today. And then you'll get the official talking points from the Biden team, and then they'll all spread it like wildfire for a day or two, and then it'll just be totally forgotten about. And then when people like me bring it up, they'll just repeat the talking point from the Biden family, and they'll be like, this has been debunked. Every single time, it's the same playbook. Let me tell you something else that's going to come up. They'll say Hunter Biden lived there. I am 95% certain at some point we will find evidence of Hunter Biden giving a pretty reasonable chunk of money to Joe Biden. And they'll say, nothing to see there. That's no big deal. Now think of how this would work for a minute. You're Zolchevsky that runs Burisma. You're Jonathan Lee and these state-owned Chinese businesses. It is beyond dispute at this point that the reason they're entering in financial engagements with Hunter Biden is the Biden brand. Access to the family name. But the people running defense for Joe Biden will say this. Well, that doesn't mean that Joe Biden was personally helping them. That just means that his son was trading on his father's name. But there's no evidence that Joe Biden was personally involved. That Joe Biden was directly receiving money. So these places, now we know some of them were meeting with Joe Biden. Some of them were on phone calls with Joe Biden. Some of them got from Joe Biden exactly what ended up benefiting them. Like in the case of Burisma, where Joe Biden gets Shokin fired and then Lutsenko comes in and Lutsenko buries the case into Burisma, which is exactly what Burisma wanted. How can we hold me accountable? How much money do you want to bet on it? Pursuit of knowledge. Go ahead. Throw a number out there. You seem confident. You have put $100. $100 on the fact that at some point we'll find out that Hunter Biden gave a chunk of money to his dad. Well, I don't know if it'll be by 2025. How would we know? They just appointed David Weiss, the guy who's been credibly accused of stalling the investigation, as special counsel. He might not wrap up his investigation until 2028. I'm not betting any money on anything. I'm not even sure that it's technically legal. I'm not betting money. When we find that money went from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden, what will be said is, Nico, thank you so much for the super chat. That's ridiculous. Thank you for the $100. He says, I got 100 on it. How can you hold me accountable? I don't know. I guess you could hold me accountable by saying if it doesn't come what I said, that it didn't come. How can we hold you accountable for your bullshit? Were you someone who supported lockdowns? Were you someone who supported the Russia collusion investigation? Were you someone that condemned people talking about the Russia collusion investigation being bullshit and using unverified opposition research? How can we hold you accountable in pursuit of knowledge? Because it seems like the things that I've been publicly saying for years since I've had this channel, almost all of them have come to fruition. I'm not 100% accurate. For example, I thought that there was no way Trump would win in 2016. I thought that Joe Biden wouldn't be the final nominee in 2020. But when it comes to these matters of investigation, right, I wasn't on Twitch trying to... And what you're doing is you're repeating a Destiny talking point. Destiny says this all the time. And I get it. I understand people like you can't think for yourself. And so you just want to repeat what people that you listen to who are wrong all the time say. So Destiny says this all the time. He goes, start putting up, as a millionaire, start putting money up. Put money up, and that's how you hold these people accountable. Start making these bets. That's what you do. And so you're in here repeating, no, I'm not going to bet money because I'm not a millionaire with disposable income. I take care of my family. I use the little bit of money that I make on here to help promulgate the channel. And then I work ridiculous hours. I'm not betting financially in gambling with people, even though my track record has been quite good. Your claim of how could you hold me accountable is bullshit. You can hold me accountable when I say something and it's proven wrong by saying you were wrong when you said this. How can we hold you accountable? Why don't you call in right now, Pursuit of Knowledge? That's how we're going to hold you accountable, right? You call in right now and we're going to have a discussion about the things that you believed and the things that I believe when it comes to these sorts of investigations, right? Then we'll hold you accountable in Pursuit of Knowledge, as I've held you accountable the other times where you've called in and I've crushed you on these debates. Let's set up. I know you've called in. You haven't done too well. We'll hold you accountable, though, to what your positions are. Now, I can't remember exactly who you were. You're just another in a dime a dozen of people that call in and get wrecked. So I don't remember specifically what we've talked about. Were you the guy the last time we had a big, long discussion about... Wait a minute, was that you? I have to look this up now. Does anyone remember when the last time this guy called in was? No. That's not him. He's not the guy that was talking about minor attracted people. When's the last time you called in Pursuit of Knowledge? Thank you so much, Dex, by the way. Yeah, when was the last time you called in? Yeah, I could hear you. It won't be necessary to turn on your cam because I don't have the cam thing set up. But Wow, that's okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm sure you're a very handsome man, so we'll make sure to get your face on here. Thank you for making several demands of my show. But I'll give you this one courtesy, so give me a chance to get it set up here. Now, I got to go through the whole rigmarole. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. You go ahead and make your demands, no problem. I got to figure this out. All right, we're set up. Doing great. All right, so you want to know how to hold me accountable. So here's how you could hold me accountable. You could take the things that I say, and when I'm wrong about them, you could point those out. So let's talk about some of the things. I'm not interested in your soliloquy. No, not interested in your soliloquy. I'm not interested. You have 30 seconds to talk about this. You have 30 seconds to talk about this framework. I'm not gambling money with you. You have 30 seconds to talk about why I should gamble money. Go ahead.
How you talk about how we need to hold institutions accountable, how we need to hold media companies accountable, how we need to make sure that these people understand that when they get things wrong, we need to make sure that they understand that when they fuck up, that we know and remember that.
Cool. So you can make a video. So you've had your piece. You've had your piece. Now I'll respond. You've had your piece. You've had your piece. So I'll respond. You've had your piece. You've had your piece. So I'll respond. Then the way you do that is by making videos and drawing attention to people when you think that they've been incorrect. You take their own words and show how they've been incorrect. That's what you do. You don't come in like Johnny Big Pants and say, if you're unwilling to gamble money with me, then you can't be held account. It's fucking stupid.
You said 99%. That's not gambling. Are you kidding me?
What are you talking about?
You said it's 99% sure that that fucking Joe Biden will be proven that he took money from Hunter as bribes. Did you not?
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
I listened.
I'll bet money. All right. You're right. No, you're right. We do need to hold people account. So you just said that I said it is, quote, 99% that it will be proven that Joe Biden took money from Hunter Biden as bribes.
I know.
That's what you said. But how much money you want to bet? How much money you want to bet that you're saying I said that in the stream? $100, right? Right. You want $100. We'll rewind the VOD, right?
I'll do it.
We'll rewind the VOD.
Okay, 95% to 99%.
Okay.
One of those two numbers was.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. Right? It's against terms of service. It's against terms of service, so I can't do it. But you're going to give subs. You're going to donate subs if I could go back because we're holding you accountable, right? So you're saying, I'm going to repeat, right?
You accountable.
Please.
No, it's not about
it's a double standard. It's a double standard. So you don't want to.
You're the guy on Twitch.
Right. So now you're on Twitch. Now you're on Twitch. Right, so we're gonna hold you accountable. So I'm gonna go back in the VOD, and I just want to be clear. And there you have it. There you have it. There you have it, everyone. Just so you know, just so everyone can see
that you said 95% certainty that Hunter Biden gave money to Joe Biden.
No. Now you just changed.
You
said There you go. Right now you're changing it. Right? You just said I said.
I did not say anything. No, there's no change.
I'm going to sit here until you shut up and let me articulate what you said. All right? Okay, this is what you said. You said that there's a 95% chance that Hunter Biden gave his dad bribes.
He got bribes, yeah. You said that.
Okay. We're going to go back.
And that the money will be proven. That it will be proven that Joe Biden received bribes.
Okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to go back and see. I'm going to tell you right now, I never used the word bribes.
Okay. Received money. You said received money.
I did say received.
Is that not a bribe? Is that not a bribe?
If I give my dad money, did I bribe him?
Are you retarded?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Don't play
That's
this game.
you.
Don't play this game.
That's
You're
you.
playing bribe.
That's
Of course
you.
you're playing bribe.
No. Don't accuse me.
Are you not talking about bribes? What are you talking about?
I'll just mute you. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to mute you, right? What I'm saying is we're holding the interest.
What else are you talking about?
The interest is holding people to account. That's the interest, right? And so here you come on and you make a declarative statement. You say, you just said,
money, not
you said, I said X. I did
you
not.
Really saying that
I'm
this
just
is
going to mute you. I'm
you're
just going to. You're muted, right? He says that I said a declarative statement. Now, he's very concerned. He wants to put money on the table. Money on the table to make sure when people make claims that they're held to account. And the first thing he does is he makes a claim and says, you said X. I never said X. I never said that. What I said was that eventually we'll find out that Hunter Biden gave his dad money. And the point that I was going to make before this person said, how much you want to bet? What do you want to put? How can we hold you to account? This is what I was going to say. That inevitably what will happen is people like this guy that I'm talking to will say, well, there's nothing untoward about that. Of course, children will give their parents money. So if Hunter Biden at one point gave his dad $5,000 or $10,000, it could be for rent. It could be for any number of things. And that's not proof that it was some nefarious deal that was selling access to his son. That's what I was going to say would be said, which gets to my point that I was making, that it is not necessary to prove that Joe Biden himself got this money. This is also proven by the fact that right before I started to make this claim, I asked everyone in the chat, how many of you are parents? And some of you said yes. And I said, would you rather you have a bunch of financial money to buy a yacht or to go on vacation to Vegas or to buy a third lake house? Or would you rather for your children to receive money to be financially independent and successful for their entire life? That was exactly what I was talking about. Now, this guy comes in and talks about the need for accountability and then says that I said something that I never said. Now, I'll give you a chance to respond.
My name's Dorian. I'm not just this guy. That's fine.
Give a shit.
What?
I don't give a shit.
Oh, Rob, we can still be nice. You could still be a nice person. Relax.
Go ahead.
So, your implication. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you really just think that Hunter just gave Joe Biden a loan or just gave him some money. Are you not implying that Hunter Biden got money from Burisma because of his connections through Joe Biden, the connections through the big guy, quote unquote, and that money is not a bribe? Are you saying that's not a bribe? Are you never going to use the word bribe?
I'm saying that Hunter Biden received money that was, I don't know if the word bribe, he received money from corrupt foreign oligarchs that were buying access or the appearance of access to.
And that's not a bribe.
I don't know legally what the word, if that legally meets the definition of the word bribe. A bribe would be directly like I pay the police officer to drop the case against me.
You want to look it up?
Sure. Sure, go ahead.
The word bribe. Bribe,
you don't
legal
understand.
Definition. I mean, this is your implication. This is what your audience is. I'm a part of this audience.
Well,
I'm listening, and I'm hearing
I understand,
that
but I believe
Hunter Biden is getting paid off, getting paid. I think if you pulled your chat right now and asked, hey, is this not the implication that Rob's making?
The implication I'm making
about
is
bribes.
The implication that I'm making is a bribe might be something that is very specific that this might not meet the definition of. But Hunter Biden is getting money from corrupt foreign oligarchs to sell access to his father, to sell access to the Biden name. That's like, for example, there's a lot of lobbying that occurs that's similar to that we wouldn't necessarily say is bribery. Paying for access, for example, is it a bribe if someone pays my nephew to get access to me, to sit down and meet? I don't know if that's technically a bribe. It's inappropriate. It's illegal if you didn't register as a foreign lobbyist, but I don't know if it's technically a bribe. Now, the problem is,
what sort of law would you want them prosecuted on? Would bribery not be a part of that?
I don't know. I don't think that it is necessary to have bribery be the law that they were prosecuted on.
What I on this?
What are you talking about? The problem
I'm
is
asking a question.
I am answering. You don't understand what I'm talking about because you're either just trying to be competitive because you're, someone who wants to be competitive, or you're not intelligent enough to understand. What I'm outlining this case for months and months, for years, I've talked about this. I don't know how many times in that time I've used the word bribe. Again, what I've talked about specifically is the inappropriate nature of selling access, of quid pro quos and things like that. It could be a bribe if it was paid directly to Joe Biden. It could be a bribe if it was filtered through Hunter Biden with the purpose of getting to Joe Biden. But it's not necessary to use the term or the legal statute for the definition of the term bribe. The reason that I brought this is so let's go back. I'll just mute you. Right? So you're muted again. So what I was doing earlier was I talked about the implication was saying that if we find out that it's not necessary for Joe Biden himself to receive this money, the question is it inappropriate for Joe Biden to give access to his son's business associates when they are corrupt foreign oligarchs and things like that? It would be inappropriate to do that. It would be Hunter Biden being a foreign lobbyist, which he should be charged for, and it would be inappropriate, impeachable, and probably a crime for the vice president to be doing that. That was the implication I had. And I said the defense that's going to be given of these payments that went to Joe Biden's house will be, but Hunter Biden lived there. That was just money that went to Hunter Biden, not to Joe Biden. And I said, one of the problems is the implication that even I fall for sometime in the setting up of the framework for this, which is that if Joe Biden personally didn't receive money, then that means he didn't do anything improper or illegal. That is not true, because you could be someone who sells access or does inappropriate things in your governmental positions to benefit your family financially, even if you as an old man never personally received that money yourself. And I said one of the things that's going to happen is we're likely to find out that the excuse of, this money that went to Joe Biden's family or Joe Biden's house, that wasn't going to Joe Biden. That was going to Hunter Biden, who lived there. That's going to be one of the things that people are going to say. Pisco's in the audience right now. Guaranteed. That's what Pisco will say. Guaranteed. That's what he's going to say. And what I'm saying is, well, one, it's even more complicated because it would prove that it's money going to the household. And secondly, that it still would be not dispositive that something corrupt couldn't have happened if Joe Biden himself didn't personally get money. If we find a direct combination to Joe Biden personally getting money, that obviously would look worse for Joe Biden. But what if we find out that the relationship went something like this? Give Hunter Biden a bunch of money, and then Hunter Biden gives his father $20,000, $10,000, $50,000. I said what will happen will be people like you and people on the left, if we find out, which I think eventually we will find out that Hunter Biden was giving large checks to his dad, people like you will say, but that's perfectly normal. That's not evidence of anything. That's what I was saying. Now, you didn't understand that, or you were being combative, and so you were like, how can we hold you accountable? Then you come in saying that I said things that I never said, saying that there would be bribes and things like that. I'm going to get a drink and then I'll unmute you. All right, good.
What's up?
Okay.
Oh, you're back. Okay. No. I mean, I just don't understand. You're still went on a long diatribe. I've heard it before, and I appreciate that you have gotten the speech down so, succinctly now that you can give it in a few minutes. But you still didn't address my main thing. My main point of even talking to you right now is that you are given implications that Hunter, that it would be proven that in an undetermined amount of time, 2025, 2058, whatever, that we're going to find out that Hunter gave money to Joe Biden. Now, you're not going to go so far to say it's a bribe. That's what your audience interprets it as. And you're fine with leaving that implication, but you don't want it, you can't say that because you're not a lawyer.
I could say that if I wanted. I didn't say it. You claimed I did. You were wrong. You were wrong.
I'm asking you.
I'm holding you to
account.
account. I'm holding you
to account too. Is it a bribe? Do you think it's a bribe?
Do I think what's a bribe? If Hunter Biden gives money to his dad, depends on the circumstances.
If Hunter gave money from his dad with the implication that it came from the influence of the Biden name for Burisma, would that be considered a bribe?
I don't know. It would definitely be inappropriate and probably... I don't know if it meets the definition of the word bribe. Okay. It would be definitely inappropriate.
Okay, maybe you need to look at a dictionary and start really looking into that, because all I hear whenever I hear you talk about this case with many people, especially Pisco, it seems like the word bribe should probably be at the top of your mind if you're trying to make sure that this family goes down, especially the president of the United States goes down. Maybe you should know what legal.
No. What I'm doing is the only reason that there's an argument.
It doesn't seem like you do. I don't know. You can't say.
The only reason that there's a conversation about the word bribe is you talked about the importance of holding people to account for the things they say, then said that I said something verbatim, which I said I did not say, and now you have to backtrack and wiggle out because you aren't being held to account.
There's no
so then, all right, so then how do we hold you to account where you're saying that I said there's a... Right, real quick, let me finish 15 seconds. Hold you to account for what I think is fallacious claim that I said there's a 99% chance that we'll see Hunter Biden gave his dad a bribe.
You're not adding anything. Okay, all right, you done? Okay. So, you said, from what I heard, 95% sure that we will find out that Joe Biden received money from Hunter Biden.
Yes. That's not...
Did you say that?
Right, I did say that. That's not what you initially said I said. Now you changed.
Is what I said.
No, it's not. So okay. So now we have two claims. You initially said that I said there was a 95% chance that Hunter Biden gave his dad money that was a bribe. Then we had this big discussion about that. Now you're saying, I never said that. I never used the word bribe. Can you tell me how we got onto the word bribe if you've never said that I said bribe? Can you explain how that happened?
We got onto it because you were implying your implications that it was a bribe.
No.
If we talk to your audience, they will tell you. You're being pedantic, absolutely. All you care about are, I have to be like a literal robot. I literally have to write in an Excel word spreadsheet a dictation. Do I need one of those shorthand computers that you find at the courthouse where the ladies are writing in shorthand to make sure that I verbatim got every little fucking word? No, you're implying to your audience, and I'm one of them, that this is a bribe, that Joe Biden received money from Hunter Biden for the influence in Burisma. That's it. And I want to hold alternative media accountable as much as you and the rest of us should hold fucking mainstream media. When they fuck up, when those journalists fuck up, we need to fucking tell them. And guess what? We need to do the same thing to Twitch poll and to alternative media like yourself.
So that was a lot of words.
And you don't want to do it. You're not going to do it.
I have to mute you again. So that was a lot of words for him to say, yeah, I fucked up. I claimed you said something that you didn't say, but now I'm going to say what the implication. So he said that I said there was a 95% chance that a bribe was going from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden. I said I never said that. Again, it matters. It's not me being semantic because the entire argument that I was setting up was eventually money will be given. We'll probably find out that money was given from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden, right? And so if money's coming from corrupt sources to Hunter Biden, right, they'll say, oh, well, just because money went from Hunter to Joe, that doesn't mean anything. It could be totally benign, right? The whole point was I wasn't going to say a bribe went from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden, because what we'll find is that's not what the documents are going to find, right? If the House Select Committee finds documents, it's not going to say, we found this wire transfer, and in the memo it said, bribe to my dad. That's not what it's going to say. What we'll see is these people are going to make the excuse, well, just because money went to Joe Biden's house, it could have been because his son was living there, and if we see his son was giving his dad a bunch of money, well, that's okay. There's nothing to see there either, right? He comes in and says we need to hold people account and says that I said there's a 95% chance that we'll see that a bribe was sent. I wasn't the one saying whether or not this would be a bribe or inappropriate. I was saying that the defense will be from people on the other side. Clearly, there's nothing to see here because sons could give their father money. They'll make any excuse. There is nothing other than sort of a videotape of Hunter Biden saying, here's your bribe. Hell, we already have his emails saying he gives 50% of his money to his dad. We have emails showing 10% goes to the big guy. We have people on record saying the big guy's Joe Biden, and that's not good enough for these people. So what I was saying is they'll make another excuse when we find out, oh, well, it was just Joe Biden had Hunter Biden living there, so nothing to see here. And then if we find out Hunter Biden was giving his dad money, they'll say, well, the sons give their fathers money, there's nothing to see here. You came in and definitively said that I said something that I didn't say. I pointed out if we're interested in holding people to account, fine. How do we hold you account for saying that I said something that I didn't? Then you've waffled back and forth. You say, I never said that you said bribe. Yes, you did. That's how we got into this conversation in the first place. Now you're saying that, no, it was implied that I said it, and therefore... Right, we get your hand gestures and all that stuff, not helping your argument. You wouldn't have to be muted if you wouldn't be interjecting, right? So, how do we hold you accountable? Now, let's ask some other questions of you. Did you support lockdowns?
So what's ridiculous is that you have to mute me because you're saying you just have to spout out to your audience. It seems like you're scared that I have anything to say to your audience, and then you have to make sure that, hey guys, make sure you understand that I said this, this, and this, and then he's waffling back and forth. So did I support lockdown? Honestly, I hated the fact that we had lockdowns. I hated the fact that the way we went about it, with the number one, it's really difficult to do it in the United States because each state has their own way of doing it. Number two, we had a terrible president at the time to address this issue, who is a narcissist, egomaniac, who only cared about the fact that Fauci was getting more likes than him. So he didn't like that, had to make him the bad guy. The lockdowns weren't great. But COVID is a terrible disease, or terrible, illness. So how do you hold me accountable? I don't know. I guess you have to look at my Twitter. I don't think you even had Twitter during then, but maybe you have to look at my Twitter to see if I supported lockdowns or argued about it on Facebook. I mean, I don't have an audience like you do. Wait, am I still muted? Hold on. Did you mute me again? I got to make sure. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure because you've been doing that multiple times. Anyway, so I don't have an audience like you do, where I can grandstand, make money, get paid, while expressing my political opinions. Why? Of course, if I did that, I think it would be great. It would be a lot of fun. But I also would know that, hey, yeah, I do need to be held accountable. Hey, if I do something wrong, if I say something wrong, perhaps it needs to be known. Even if it would bruise my ego so high as it is. Especially when have people like Aftershock who dodges every debate. You want to talk about accountability. It's ridiculous that this guy, I try to talk to him about multiple different issues, including coming to your chat to talk to him and talk to you about it. And that's why this is the first time we've ever spoken in person. I've never have joined your Discord. I've never have chatted to you. I think you would remember me on top of that. But you know what? No, you're right. I'm a retard. You already said it earlier that, I'm too stupid to even comprehend the great mind of yours that can't even have a legal definition for bribery when you have been living and breathing this case for how many years? Okay, anyway, sorry. Am I muted still?
Yes, you're still not muted.
Okay, excellent. All right, just wanted to make sure.
Are you done?
I am done.
Okay, so let's go through this bullshit. Notice I ask a simple question. He's unable to answer it. First, he says that I'm muting him because I'm...
How am I supposed to answer that question?
There you go. And now you understand...
Wait, the question...
Okay,
are
we'll mute him. We'll mute him again. All right. So the reason I'm muting him, as you can see, is because I sit there and patiently leave him go on a diatribe where he's going all over the place when he talks, and then I try to respond, and when I get 3 words out, he instantly talks over me. So it's my show. I'm not going to put up with the bullshit. he claims that the reason I'm muting him is because I'm afraid for my audience to hear what he's saying. But that would be belied by the fact that I actually brought him on and I'm allowing him to say what he wants. I just want to be able to say he can't control himself and prevent from interrupting, which is why he needs to be muted. So his whole first part was just bullshit, as you could plainly see. The second part, when I asked him, did you support lockdowns or not? You tell me if I'm wrong, audience. Did he give an answer? Didn't sound like it to me. It almost sounded like he said, I don't know. You would have to go look at my social media and see if I did or not. Now, how would you not know if that's something that you supported or not? Or he's saying, I'm not going to tell you, but it's up to you to go try to sift through my social media to tell me. So instead of going on a long diatribe, I will ask him again. You didn't seem to answer the question. I will answer again. When there were people advocating for lockdowns, did you support those or not?
Did I support lockdowns? Yeah.
Okay.
In general, yeah, I think but it's a very difficult thing to do, but yeah.
So why was that? So two things to say in that. First, just a sort of meta conversation.
Go ahead. Hey, no, wait. Aftershock linked my Twitter from 2020. Remember, these people are the same people who say lockdowns don't work, masks don't work, re-up the economy, and everything should be taken seriously. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't know what I was responding to. It was deleted. That's funny. But yeah, I did support the lockdowns, and I did. Are you? Wait. How do we hold me accountable, Rob? Please. How many Hail Marys do I have to say? Tell me, please.
Okay, so two things to say before I was interrupted there again. First, on a meta level, notice how people that you're talking to and you ask a simple question that go on 4-minute diatribes that are going all over the place that are unable to answer, and then I ask again, and then go ahead, you need to interrupt again, go for it.
Hot kettle, go on.
So notice how he was unable to answer the question, and then he's like, okay, I did support him. So just to give everyone clear, that first answer he gave was bullshit. That was just a 4-minute rant. Secondly, so I guess the question would be, seeing as how you supported lockdowns that did things like hurt people physically, hurt people psychologically, lowered the educational standards of our children significantly. Yeah, I guess the question would be, do you feel bad for that? And how do we hold you accountable for that terrible position where you wanted to force authoritarianism on people that actually occurred and led to the quality of their life and their livelihoods being significantly declined? How do we hold you accountable for that?
It's so funny, Rob. Do you think that I am the person responsible for these things? Do you think I personally was the one to hold this authoritarian view? Also, notice, Rob, the reason why I'm interrupting you is because I'm trying to have a conversation. I'm not having a debate. We're not timed here. And I'm trying to just make sure that you get the facts straight. I can't mute you. You have all that power. So this is your place. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. We never came in here to bullshit around. So is this how you have conversations with people, where one person talks for 2 minutes and then another person talks? Because that's not normal. And I already know it's a rhetorical question. It's silly to talk like that, Rob. Let's be honest, okay?
Okay, so you're asking me to interrupt you every time you talk because that's how you have normal conversations?
That's how we have conversations.
Okay, I'll play you. So go ahead. So I want you to defend your lockdown position. So you're just a fascist authoritarian. That's all you are.
I am a fascist.
Okay, so you're just a fascist authoritarian. So can you explain this? Yes, I want you to explain. Yes, I want you to explain because you're unable to explain it because you're just a fascist authoritarian that cheered for this sort of authoritarianism. So that's all you are. You're just a bullshitter. You're just a bullshitter, right? That wanted to inflict people. You wanted to inflict pain. You wanted to hurt children.
Now this is how I have conversations. Great job, honestly.
Now, does everyone see why the interrupting thing's a bad thing? Yeah, it's most people that are able to have a conversation face-to-face that don't have an audience are able to have a conversation with intermittent interruptions and things like that. He's clearly incapable of doing that. And there's also an audience that's trying to hear what we're saying. So I'll admit that I may have been at beginning when he came on interrupting a little, but we got into a groove where one person was talking and then the other person could talk. He's incapable of doing that. So he's literally asking, please don't set it up a situation where people could clearly hear what you're saying and then clearly hear what I'm saying. That's not beneficial for me. Now, to answer his other bullshit that he said here, he said, do you think I'm the person that was responsible for the lockdowns occurring? Well, no, I don't think that. I think the lockdowns were able to occur because there are millions of people like you you that were afraid and that gave into your fear to support government authoritarianism, and that ended up massively harming people, including children, and you don't care. You're not taking account for your role. And the reason that this is worth bringing up is because you apparently, based on your own criteria here, must think that I'm responsible for all policies surrounding investigations into Biden for Burisma. Else, why would you be demanding that I be held to account? So the stupidity is when I use the exact same terminology for you, for the terrible things that you have supported that ended up causing real world harm to people, you're like, no, I wasn't the ultimate decision maker, therefore I shouldn't be held to account. But you're demanding that I put money up or something when I'm talking about my predictions of what will happen in the Hunter Biden case? Can you explain that difference, why it's okay to hold me to account, but you shouldn't be held to account because you weren't the ultimate decider on lockdowns?
Yeah, I guess you didn't... Or am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I have the floor. I will reclaim my time. So, the problem I have is that you're trying to equate two things. You're trying to say that I had a direct role in having lockdowns, and your role as a Burisma, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Twitch, alternative media news source expert. You're trying to equate these two things. I did not do anything to have lockdowns or no lockdowns. Zero way that I could affect. Can you agree with that?
No.
You're saying that I was personally responsible for this.
No, I'm saying what I already said, which was that you may not yourself have been in a position of authority to enact these things, but because there were people like you and millions like you that adopted the position that you wanted the government to enforce this authoritarian on others because you were afraid, that's what allowed these policies to occur.
So you're trying to lump me, you're trying to fight this entire group of people. You're blaming all of them. Okay, so so it's not just me, it's people like me. This amorphous giant group, obviously, because the lockdowns were, at the beginning, initially, very largely supported for. And then versus Rob, the one person who we're trying to hold to account when he says things. When he says things on Twitter, like, I'm 95% sure that in the next few years that Hunter Biden is going to be proven that Hunter Biden gave money to his father. You're trying to equate these two things.
I'm trying, and I am trying to equate. What you did was worse, right? And I'll explain.
How can you equate those two things?
Well, the way it works is you said that, and then I was beginning to explain, and then you re-asked the question as I was explaining. So usually if you don't interrupt, I'll get to answering the point that you made. So I am equating them to some sense. However, what you did was worse. What you're criticizing me for is, how do we hold Rob to account for his theory that he thinks it'll likely be found at some point that Hunter Biden gave money to his dad? And we need to hold him to account. Versus you, who were looking retroactively, we know your position was incorrect. We know your position was harmful. My prediction, let's say my prediction's wrong.
So it's more unequal.
There we go. Then. So we'll mute you again. So let's go through the thought process to see what happens if I'm wrong. What if we never do find that Hunter Biden ever gave money to his father? Okay, who's harmed by that? No one. Who lost their education? Who lost their job? Who was unable to attend their grandparents' funeral? No one. No one whatsoever. I was just wrong about something that I predicted. It would be similar to being wrong about, like, I think that this person will win the 2024 election. I think that Joe Biden will win. If I'm wrong, okay, I guess it's important to hold to account and say, your prediction was wrong. It is different when your prediction is cheering. Your prediction leads you to say, I think this virus will be terrible, and I think that this policy would be something that will help fight it in a substantial way. So I am rooting for or voting for or supporting government authoritarianism to lock down people, including children, which will have obvious detrimental effects to them, when that's proven wrong. Now, there's only one person here saying that both of us shouldn't be held to account. I'm just saying the holding me to account is a way that could be done as saying, here's what you quoted as saying, now we'll see in the future if that came true. You're saying that I have to put money up, which I'm pretty sure, if not illegal, is against terms of service, which would be bait to get my channel busted. But I'm giving you an avenue for how I could be held to account. Now, what I suggested is exactly how I'm trying to hold you to account. I'm like, what were your comments about something that we know was wrong, like lockdowns? And you're like, yeah, I supported them. And I'm like, okay, so shouldn't we hold you to account? You're like, no, I shouldn't be held to account because I wasn't the ultimate decider. Now, that's ludicrous because clearly I'm not going to be the ultimate decider when it comes to how to investigate Hunter Biden or anything like that. I'm a person that has 50 or 60 people watching me. You might have less people watching, but it's still ludicrous if your defense is I didn't ultimately have any authority to enact these policies. You cheered for the government to force coercion on people, to lock them down, which caused immeasurable harm, and now you're saying you shouldn't be held to account. I find that position to be self-serving and ludicrous. You good?
Okay, cool. I'm sure what you said was, it doesn't equate. We can't equate the two, Rob. I know in your mind, you want to hold to account people like me. Generous, amorphous blob of liberal dude. Fuck those guys, right? Because they create an authoritarian time in the United States. And they voted for a guy that you believe is not taking bribes literally because we don't know the legal definitions or anything, but implying that he did some bad stuff some time in the past with his son. We can't hold the two the same. It just doesn't work. I know you're trying to cram this down the throat, trying to make a point that somehow we're responsible for COVID lockdowns. We're not. It's like if I asked you, Rob, are you responsible for, some bad thing happening? I stubbed my toe. It's a butterfly effect kind of thing. That's what you're implying. And I know you don't understand it. I just don't get it. Other than you got really triggered. The fact that I'm trying to hold you accountable.
No, I'm not triggered.
That's the only thing that I'm getting from this, honestly, because I'm just wondering how do we do that? Because you know why I think about this? I think about Vosh. I fucking hate Vosh for doing the exact same thing. He always does these stupid fucking diatribes about like transgenocide shit. Oh my fucking God. I fucking hate those people that do that. And all I can think is, how do we hold them accountable? How do we get them? Because all they do is fearmonger. All they do is, create and foment division in the United States. The worst thing I want in this United States in my lifetime and the lifetimes of my children in the future is to have a balkanization in the United States. And I truly do believe this. The internet and having people be able to say whatever they want with no accountability really is not helping that situation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you want that. Maybe that's the future you want. I'm not sure. You can. I rescind my time.
Okay, so you are right that you're not following. You're literally just repeating what you've said and being unresponsive to what I'm saying. So I'll try to dumb it down for you a little. You're saying that the problem is that I'm trying to equate two things. One, my prediction on if we'll find Hunter Biden gave his dad money. Versus two, you're cheering for authoritarianism in support of lockdowns, which you're conceding was I assume you're conceding, which we know were disastrous and harmed people, including children, and harmed people's livelihoods and things like that. I am equating them, but that equating is being generous for you, because by almost any metric that we would look at, what you did was far worse. We know that you were wrong. We don't know that I was wrong. I'm predicting something that wouldn't affect people's lives in the sense that it wouldn't force them to not be able to have their kids go to school, to not be able to see their families, to not be able to go to work, to lose their homes. That's what you supported. You supported those things. So the fact that I'm saying we both should be treated on an equal playing field in that we should see the things we said and then make a memory of them, whether it be because I'm recording this so you could do it, or you posted things on social media or whatever, and then later see how that looks once we have more facts. We have that with you. And I'm saying we should hold you to account, right? You're saying, no, I shouldn't be held to account. That's ridiculous. I shouldn't. But you should be for your prediction that Hunter Biden will find out gave his father money. So let me see if I could say this in a way that you would understand more. Let's say there's two people. Let's not use us, right? Let's say that there is Aftershock and there is John Strivet. Do you think this is Do you think this is making you look good?
Do you think that you can seriously equate those two? Because it's absolutely true, absolutely a false narrative. No, you cannot. Because I'm telling you, you're talking to an audience about changing the future. We can obviously look back in hindsight's 2020. Do you know why that's a saying? But I'm a fucking retard. Of course, we can always equate predicting the future versus looking at history. This is fucking stupid, Rob. You seriously can't believe this. You don't seriously believe this, right? Like, if you're trying to say that, you're telling me that I should be chastising when I look at the Farmer's Almanac for weather predictions. You know, they do that for years in advance. And I should be able to equate that with yesterday's forecast. Are you fucking kidding me? All right, that's seriously what you're saying. That's seriously what you're trying to say. And on top of that, of course, you're trying to put me in the worst light possible. You don't even talk about... Okay, it's fine. I know you're playing it up for games, but it's just so disingenuous. It's so disingenuous. You're not seriously... There's no logical thread between these two things that you're trying to pull together. Go ahead. I want to see you try harder. Because I'm not seeing it. I know your audience, they don't give a fuck. This is just fun for them. So, I'm all ears. I don't understand it.
So originally...
And I did that because I assumed that I was muted. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So originally, your claim was, how do I hold Rob accountable for this claim that I said in the future we'll find out that it's most likely that Hunter Biden gave his father money? Now, presumably, what you suggested was betting some amount of money on it. I believe you said $100, right?
Because you live in capitalism. I love capitalism.
I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt to not mute you, right? So, so that's what you wanted. I believe you said $100, right? Now, I assume this is how this would have worked. You wanted to set a date, like I believe you suggested 2025, and presumably then what would have happened in 2025 is you would have went back and looked at what my prediction was and what my suggestions were, and then you would have said in 2025, you would have looked back in history and said, was Rob's predictions accurate? We need to hold him accountable. Now, when I suggest doing the same thing with your claims that we needed lockdowns, probably you thought we needed them because they would be beneficial to protect us from COVID and that the benefits would outweigh the cost. That's probably
the benefits did outweigh the cost. That's where we disagree, Rob. We can look at stats and statistics all day long. Was it beneficial? Here's the problem. We don't have a universe where lockdowns didn't happen. That's the problem with your analogy. Number one. Number two, what sort of bet would I have made that lockdowns are good? That's such a... You're trying to make this amorphous statement. I'm being specific. Saying to you, you said this, Rob Noor, on September 26th at 9:45 p.m. You said this. You can't equate the two.
Okay, so now you see this is constantly what he's done in this conversation. He constantly deflects when he's been proven wrong. So his stance...
Projection.
Please.
Projection.
You're muted. He's muted now, right? So I generously let him interrupt me several times there, right? So you see, initially when I was talking about this, it was because he said, it's absurd. It would be like criticizing people to look at the Farmer's Almanac. Why should we go back in history? That's literally what he's suggesting doing with me. He's just at the middle part. So he's saying that right now we look at what I said, and then in the future we'll look back and see the accuracy of what I said. I'm suggesting doing the same thing as him. He said retroactively that yes, lockdowns were good and he supported them, and now we're looking at them today and saying, are they good? He said that's unfair to do. It's stupid to go back in history. That's not what he's doing with me. But that's exactly what the end point of what he's suggesting for me. And by the way, he's fair to do that. That is what people should do. They should look at the statements that people make in real time, and then in the future see the accuracy of those statements. That's how we hold people accountable. I disagree that it has to be through the gambling of money. I'm just saying that I think that that should be done on all sides of the equation. I think that what I suggested, right, of predicting whether or not Hunter Biden gave his dad money is far more benign and would affect far less people, if I'm wrong, than people that cheered for lockdowns, which greatly affected people in very significant ways. So the question I was going to ask before I was interrupted like 12 times, and we could get to the rest of his points here, I don't mind, but the question that I was going to ask is, let's say that we have two people. The people I used were, I think I used Aftershock and John Starvis, and let's say Aftershock says, I predict that Hillary Clinton will take over and win in 2024. And John Stivers says, I think that vaccines are so bad that we should outlaw every vaccine. And then that happens. And then we find out that millions of people die. Which one of those would be more important to hold someone to account for? Good?
Oh, I'm unmuted? Okay. Of course, the latter. What do you mean?
Okay, so then if I say, I think Hunter Biden gave his dad money, and then someone else says, I think we need lockdowns, which then happen, which then negatively affects millions of people, which one is it more important to hold people accountable for?
So this is about a degree of severity of millions of people being affected versus the president of the United States, democracy in the United States, largest scandal probably ever in U.S. history. Are we trying to, that's where we're equating the two right now? No, that's where the question is.
What I'm equating is, one of us is making a prediction about a scandal. And my articulation is, if I'm incorrect about that, I think exactly 0 people's lives will be affected. You made a prediction about the need for...
You don't think it matters?
You made a prediction about... No, it matters as far as my credibility as someone who speaks, but you made a prediction that lockdowns would be necessary, something that negatively affected millions of people. So why should you not be held to account, or the people that said what you... Isn't that more severe in every metric? Isn't that even more reason to hold those people accountable?
I get what's going on now. It's tough to have conversations with people that, when you try to specify something narrowed down in a microscope, and then they want to expand it out. And then you go to the expanding out, and then they want to go back to a microscope. It's hard to have this shifting battlefield. I get what's happening now. I get what you're doing. I think it's a little bit disingenuous. I think it's, you're lying to yourself or to your audience to really believe that Burisma and the Hunter Biden case doesn't matter as much as COVID. I think it's a very important thing. COVID definitely is more important, but on the important scale of politics of the United States in 2023, well, guess what? It's a lot more important than COVID. I think, this is something that you spend hours, days. I bet at this point it might be years. Not years, months. It's been, all I know is the last 6 months easily you've spent talking about this case. And now you're telling me it's not that important. It's not as important as you think. It's something else. I appreciate the talk. I have to work at 6 a.m. I really want to talk more, Rob, but I know you won't because I interrupt all the time. Can you set up any sort of debate between me and Aftershock sometime? I just want to talk to him. He's a good friend of mine. I miss him. Yeah.
I don't need to set up any debate. If Aftershock wants to debate you, he'll reach out to me and I'll moderate a debate between you two. It has nothing to do with me setting up. I think that you have the two characteristics that I love the most in combination of someone. You have an arrogance that you're smart, and an incredible amount of stupidity. And it comes across as shocking. Like, even there, your statement, you're trying to talk like you're somehow, some, great thinker or something. You're not saying anything. I just outlined, like, you're putting all sorts of fallacies here. For example, I'm not saying Burisma isn't important. I'm saying the prediction of whether or not Hunter Biden gave money to his dad. That is not, it would be an important scandal, but that
your words don't matter?
But that I didn't say they didn't matter. That prediction wouldn't negatively affect anyone's life whatsoever if I was right or wrong. It wouldn't affect the outcome of the investigation. It's not me saying that the government should tell people that they can't engage in their freedoms. That's what you cheered for. And therefore, it's more important. You're somehow conflating to my individual prediction on this. You would be better to say, Rob said that we should disband the FBI. Now, that's a position that could have negative ramifications for people in the world. That's a more robust criticism. That I would give you. But your criticism on it's very important to hold me account, which I'm not disputing for the sake of my credibility in the things I say. It is important to hold me accountable. Absolutely agree when I make predictions. Totally agree. I'm just saying what you did, your prediction was worse because your prediction led you to a conclusion that said the government should lock people down, which was horrific, which was terrible. So I'm being generous equating the two. I'm saying in both accounts, we should hold you account just like we should hold me to account. You're saying no. You're saying it's fallacious to equate these two things. No, equating them is generous because, as I've shown, what you suggested was literally a prediction that then cheered for the government.
You talked about how I don't say anything, yet you're doing the exact same thing.
It's not silly. Anyone who's listening could see, and you even admitted when I broke it down and you weren't smart enough to see where I was going and said if there's two people and one makes a prediction about who will win an election and the other says because of the predictions I have, I think the government should force people to not be allowed to take medication, which one of those would be worse? You're like, clearly the latter. But then as soon as it comes to, and then you realize like, oh, I see, that's the explanation. Good, you could leave, I don't care. It's my show, I'm talking to my audience, so take it easy. As soon as I then correctly talk about how that was the exact same reason that we should be more apt to hold people to account that cheered things like lockdowns. You're like, no, we shouldn't hold those people to account, particularly yourself. So yet another person who's not that intelligent. Like you're going on a rant and then muting him. I don't care. I came in late. Right, Woodsman Mill. You came in late, so you're not aware of the situation. What was going on was I was leaving him rant as long as he wanted, and then as soon as I would start to talk, he would interrupt me. I warned him several times. He wouldn't stop doing it, so I started muting him. I told him over and over. Then I stopped muting him and gave him a chance, and he went right back to interrupting me. I would leave him talk for a 3-4 minute chunk. Then as soon as I would start to talk, he would interrupt me. So I told him that I was going to mute him again after giving him the chance of taking that mute off. So yes, it's not something that I would do just willy-nilly, but because he was incapable. He actually said that he had hoped that I would interrupt him over and over because that's how conversations happen. I told him that that's no good for an audience that's trying to listen to what both of us are saying. So now, the person that was applying an even standard there was me saying, yes, anyone who's making comments on social media and things like that, we should hold them to account, at least in the sense that then it enables us to determine the accuracy of the things they're suggesting going forward. For example, had someone been saying, yes, Trump's team colluded with Russia, there's nothing untoward that happened with the FBI, the FISA warrants were all on the up and up, the Devin Nunes memo is bullshit, then we should be highly skeptical now that facts have come out that all of that was incorrect, that those people know what they're talking about, particularly when it comes to that subject of scandals and FBI corruption. If there's someone who's been right on almost every instance, that was calling out those FISA warrants in writing, which I could go back to prove, that was calling out all sorts of double standards the entire time, which I'm able to prove through video that I've done and writing that I've done, then yes, that would show that I would be deemed to have more credibility going forward. But that only speaks to my credibility as a commentary. Now, as I am me, I find my credibility to be important. Absolutely, I do. However, that's less important than people that said, I have a prediction about COVID, therefore I want the government to lock people down. That had significant negative consequences to people's lives. Those people should be held far more to account than someone like me, because they literally cheered on policies that horribly affected people's lives in incredible negative ways. It's far more important to hold the people that held that position to account than elsewise. let me give you an example. Let's say that there was someone who sincerely believed that Trump colluded with Russia. And they said, I predict that we'll find evidence that Trump himself personally worked with Vladimir Putin. That person's wrong. That person should be held account for being wrong. However, I would say it's less important to hold that person to account than a person that said, I want the government to lock people down. Do you understand? One was making a prediction about what they thought we would find when it comes to the President of the United States and their connections to corruption. The other is making a prediction that leads to them being fearful, and so their prescription is to force government authoritarianism to enforce lockdowns on other people. Understand? Everyone got it? How hard would it have been for him to say, sure, I also should be held to account. Totally agree. Here's what I said on lockdowns. I was wrong. You're right. You should hold me to account. How hard would that have been? But he didn't. His position, and again, I think I'm being charitable because I think the people that adopted his position need to be held to account more than people that are just making predictions about corruption. No, don't ban him. I don't think he did anything to get banned. But I'm just being generous, saying, yes, in general, when people say things, we should hold them to account. When they're making claims, predictions, I agree, we should. And you could say, well, you have more people watching you than me. That's true. I do have more people watching than him. But that's not something that I brag about often. But I'm just, in the grand scheme of things, even though I might be larger than him when it comes to my contact, I'm still very, very, very small. We're talking less than 100 people per stream. We're talking, when I do YouTube videos and stuff, getting 100, 200 views. So why would holding me to account be less important than, like, the politicians or the media professionals? People like that. He doesn't want to talk to me. Move him all to kick right. He doesn't want to talk to me. He wants to talk to Aftershock. Anyways, I'm going to go to the restroom. I'll be right back. I will. I'll put my little song up. You guys can listen to my... Now, to the greater point, and I know he's saying what he heard Destiny say. That's what he's saying, because I have heard Destiny say this. And Destiny has said, the way you hold people accountable is to make them put their money where their mouth is, right? There's two problems with that. One, it's probably, I said illegal. That's probably not the right word. It's probably against terms of service to make financial bets on stream. And I'm just not doing that shit. I'm not anyways. Even if it was completely within terms of service, I'm not doing that, right? It is for various reasons. If I make a bet, I know that I won't welch on that bet, that it's something that I would pay out. But how do I enforce that on someone else? It is stupid to do something like that with people that you have no relationship with online. Secondly, this is something that's easy for someone like Destiny who has huge amounts of money that he gets from his channel to say. I live paycheck to paycheck. I'm quite confident I stake my reputation on the things that I say in here. I don't back down. I'm not always right. Again, I've talked about predictions that I've been wrong with. You want to see predictions I've been wrong with? Go back and look at all the streams I was doing with Lecture Fan about predictions for the 2022 midterms. I was wrong about a lot of this stuff I said there. I was wrong about Trump winning in 2016. I was right about him losing in 2020, but nonetheless, I was wrong about Biden. I said would not be the nominee in 2020. I was wrong about that. I'll admit when predictions that I make are wrong, but predicting isn't the same as analyzing data or analyzing stories that we see in front of us. And I've been very good at that, and I've been very good in my predictions when it comes to these stories of corruption and things like that. The idea that I'm somehow disingenuous or running or can't be held accountable unless I'm willing to stake money on my positions is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Yeah, Wolf's Rain, if you want to call in for a minute, that's cool. But I don't mind people. I totally welcome. If the left wants to sit there and watch every single show that I've ever done, I even say all the time, I'm like, clip this. Here's something I'm going to say that I want. I'm totally cool with that. And if they find things that I'm wrong about, I'll absolutely listen. But you could see, he can't even articulate what I'm saying. He comes in, and it sounds like it was being semantic, but it wasn't. The point was, thank you, Gizmo. The point was, I was saying something very specific. I was saying, this is what the other side will say as an excuse, right? We already have a bunch. Thank you, True Legend. Thank you, Gizmo. I really appreciate the subs. I do. We already see tons of evidence. 10% going to the big guy. Hunter Biden saying, I have to give half my salary to my dad. All of this stuff. We see that. That's not enough for them. Now we see money directly going to Joe Biden's house. That's not going to be enough. They'll say, but that money went to Hunter Biden was living there. And I said, then the next thing, we'll see that there are sums of money going from Hunter Biden to his dad. They'll say, but that's not proof. Then he wants to come in and say, Rob said that there's going to be a brunt. That's not what I said. I was analyzing what they will say. I don't know if that guy has his screen name, In Pursuit of Knowledge, I believe is his. All right, let's go back on the air. Bring Wolf's Rain in. Also, I absolutely hate when people, like, it's one thing if we're doing the debate to come in that's been scheduled. Obviously, I always make sure that people have the same screen size as me, like with their camera. But I absolutely hate when I'm not prepared to do that. I don't have it set up. I'm just doing a show and there's a call-in for the demand. I think I should be on camera. It's like, okay. I guess I could have been a little less shitty about that, but I'm just like, because I'm a boomer, it takes me a while to set that shit up. But go ahead, Wolf's Rain. You wanted to talk about mask mandates or something. You're muted on my end. You might have to go into your settings and change your mic or something. There you go. There I could hear.
All right. So, mask mandates, lockdowns. It didn't have anything to do with health. It had everything to do with control and behavioral adaptation.
Thank you, Z-Rones.
Plain and simple. So, basically, the masks, they already knew that they didn't have an effect on straining out viruses from the air. Like, it didn't already say it on the boxes that the masks came in themselves. It wasn't a hidden fact. They knew this, right? This wasn't any kind of hidden medical knowledge or anything that was being kept from people. It's not an unknown quantity. So the masks, purely theater. And they knew it was purely theater. What would have been effective is if they used disinfectant on everything all the time, but that wouldn't exactly be economical now, would it?
Right.
Because you have to keep reapplying it over and over and over and over again. And, you know, that just costs too much damn money.
Now,
so rather than doing something real, they went with something fake.
Well, and I'll be honest. I didn't know whether or not masks would work because I'm a layman. I'm not someone that's in the medical field, right? I'm just like everyone else that's an average person that's not studied this stuff when it's occurring in real time. One of the first things that was said, and I was one of the first people I heard comment, was when Dr. Fauci and all came out and said, yeah, don't get masks, don't worry, they don't work. And I'll be honest, this is what I said at the time. I said, how the fuck do they know? Now, in retrospect, I could see now that I've studied more into it that there were credible studies that showed viruses of a similar nature or that were small, like COVID is, that cloth mask in particular, but even to a degree, and the NC95 mask and whatever, weren't very effective, or in the case of cloth masks, were almost completely ineffective. But if the argument, I'm willing to accept the argument that, like, okay, this is something new, so we don't really know. And I knew that it was bullshit when they proclaimed initially, well, we definitively know that masks don't work, so don't go buy them. I knew that was bullshit. And then, like, a couple weeks later when they came out and was like, never mind, we lied. Actually, masks are the end-all be-all. I said the same thing. I was like, bullshit. They don't know. They don't have studies that show this. They're just winging it, and I agree with you. I said it from the get-go. Both of those claims, neither of those claims, don't wear a mask or wear a mask, had anything to do with health. It had to do with control. That's what it was. Oh, people are choosing to go out and buy masks? No, you shouldn't choose to do that. Oh, now people don't want to wear masks? Yes, they should be forced to wear masks. And they still don't have any...
You want to go shopping? You got to wear a mask.
Right.
Or they're going to be like, where's your mask? You can't be in here without a mask.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's what I said.
Former, you can't eat.
I had said this from the get-go. I was on this website, Above Top Secret, and I've said this many times. The thing that frustrated me the most wasn't the lefties. I understand that big government, social progressives, social democrats, they want big government. The fundamental difference, if I'm looking at a good faith lefty, the fundamental difference between most of us, well, at least in this sense, is I believe that we have rights, and that if the government is to temporarily restrict them, they should do so as little as possible, and they have to prove that it is necessary to take those actions. They believe the opposite. They believe that you have to prove that you deserve your rights. So the default position to them is, fuck you, lock you down, force you to do a bunch of shit. Now it's the impetus is on you to prove that we shouldn't do that. And they're always, so then if you have any sort of doubt whatsoever with the population, they'll be able to default to, well, you just have to trust the science, trust the government. And what this allows them to do is have total control over you. And I said it at the time, it will be bad under COVID. If you've followed me a while, you've probably heard me say this dozens of times. There are three possible things that could hurt our country. There's COVID itself, right? Which I have no idea how many people it will kill. Then there's the reaction to COVID, the lockdowns, things like that. I think that will be worse. Inevitably, that'll be worse for people. It'll kill more people. But we'll survive that too, eventually. But the worst thing would be the third thing, that if we allow this moment to be a test run, where they say, when we snap our fingers, you say, I'm afraid, and I give up all my rights to the government.
We say jump, you say how high.
That's right. We will never recover. Because, and I was saying this earlier, I said, oh, COVID, they're predicting it could kill 2.2 million people. Now do climate change. Oh, that could wipe out the world? So what sort of authoritarianism would be justified in the name of it? Now they're trying to do it with gun rights. Yeah, what state was it that just tried to say, gun right, we have to have a temporary lockdown on guns, on open carrying permits and things like that. That's once you give into fear and you allow the government to say, listen, we don't have to answer any fucking questions. You're going to do whatever we say, or else we'll shame you, we'll arrest you. And it's not even just them. That's the beauty of this. It's not just the government. It's that they convinced people to hate their own neighbors, to hate their own family, all based on this fear. And they were wrong. And now there's no accountability for them. They're just like, well, it's time to move on. And they're going to do it again and again. And it will get exponentially worse every fucking time they do it. And the house of cards is falling. The economy...
all they're doing is just successively dumbing down each generation more and more with political bullshit, more or less, from the earliest age they possibly can. It's not every teacher, but it doesn't have to be every teacher. It could be 1 of 10, you know?
Right, and like, here's the thing, right? And, like, it kind of goes with the conversation I was just having with this guy that called in. I take a question like vaccines, right? Now, I was very careful. I never definitively said you should take a vaccine or you shouldn't take a vaccine. I think that's fucking stupid to listen to someone online that's not an expert in the field. What you should do is find a medical professional you trust with your specific medical situation and come to a conclusion with that medical professional that you think's best for yourself. They may tell you to take the vaccine. They may tell you to not.
Learn what the contents are of that vaccine. Don't just take a thing and hope it's magically going to cure you, not knowing what the hell's in it.
Exactly. But let's say that I did, and I was careful to not make that recommendation, but let's say I did. Let's say I came in and said, all of y'all should take the vaccine. All of you. And then you take it, and you get a horrible side effect. You have anaphylactic shock, and you're in a hospital for 15 days, and you come out, and now you feel really ill. You might say, hey, fuck you. Right. You might say, fuck you, Rob. You gave advice, and it was bad. And that is bad. And that is something that maybe the people that are negatively affected by that would have reason to criticize me. But that's different. Even that's not to the level of what this guy that was on here did. When they said, it's not just my opinion saying you should take this or you shouldn't. It's saying the government should force you. So if I said, I think you should stay locked down, I think you should stay at home, that's bad. That probably had negative consequences. But if I said, I think you should stay locked down and I think the government should enforce it, that's infinitely worse. Because giving an opinion, although that can cause harm, and we have to be careful, even a small streamer like me has to be careful that I'm not giving opinions that would lead to the detriment of people's lives. Even if I mean well, I do find some sort of responsibility. But that is a pittance comparing to actually cheering on and supporting the government forcing people to do things. Because as I said from the get-go, how do you explain yourself? If you're one of the people that wanted the government to enforce school closures, how the fuck do you explain yourself to this generation of kids? That we can see all the evidence coming out how fucked they are, educationally, psychologically, developmentally. What do you say to those kids? You don't say, well, I had an opinion and I was wrong. No, it was beyond that. You wanted the government to force things on them and their family. Why shouldn't we hold those people to account? That, to me...
Why would you throw the dice on the welfare of your children rather than knowing what the hell you're doing?
Well, to me, let's be clear, particularly with the children, what we did. Any healthy society will take the people that are the most innocent of us, that need the most protection, and default to protecting them first, and that's children, right? Any healthy society should say, if there has to come a calculation between sacrificing rights and well-being of adults or children, we default to helping the children. And what we did as a country collectively is, we had adults that said, I'm afraid, so fuck them kids. Screw them. Yeah. Who cares what the data says? They need to sacrifice the innocent children. That's unforgivable. Now, I might not have cheered...
born of ignorance.
Right. And I might not have cheered that on. I might have fought against it. But in the grand scheme of things, when we're all dust at the end of the day and we're all dead, I lived in a country that voluntarily accepted that. And so I, to some degree, am culpable. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that that's what this country, and countries all around the world, but particularly the United States, because it wasn't a matter of, well, there's ambiguous data. We just don't know. The data was quite clear. After a small amount of time, that lockdowns were harming children and it wasn't benefiting them. Europe didn't do it. All of the countries were constantly told by the left have better medical systems. They chose very early to stop locking down kids from schools. So why did we keep doing it? And you hit the nail on the head, because it's about control. That's what it was about. It was never about the public health. That's not what they were doing. They were exercising their control. And to get back, I got a little sidetracked. Of course, that's what these lefties are going to want. But what amazed me was how many people on the right, how many people that called themselves Republicans or conservatives or constitutionalists that I was arguing with. And I got the fucking receipts. I got them. People that I'd streamed with, people that I talked with on blogs that were like, Rob, you're wrong this time. 15 days to flatten the curve. Trust us. And now where are they? I got these fucking grifters like Ian Miles Chung, who's making God knows how many impressions on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. I remember when he put a video out in March of 2020 that was literally just 20 seconds of him going, oh, the economy, because he was making fun of people like me that was like, what the fuck are you doing? These lockdowns are going to have economic ramifications for 10 years into the future.
And they did.
And now that dude's out there grifting like, oh, well, Trump supported lockdowns and blah, blah, blah. Fuck you, man. You made fun of the people like me that called it out.
Like how much of a percentage of the country's small businesses across the country, and enrich all the largest companies like Walmart and Amazon and so forth, even more so than they already were, enforcing their potential for creating monopoly even more so than they already had. Like,
and that's
who did that serve?
Well, and that's how you know we're
Did
fucked.
that serve us, the people, or did that serve the people that are at the top that have all the money necessary to be able to make huge investments into these massive companies?
Right. Now, I'm not telling people out there to be black-pilled. There are things, your personal life's most important. Nothing's ever written in stone. There's always a chance that we could turn, maybe people woke up. But when I saw right-wingers doing that, that's what I think about. That's why I was saying earlier, it wasn't that I'm some genius. The reason I was saying the real threat here is if we give in to authoritarianism, they will never give up this playbook. They will use it again and again and again, to which point our country is ruined. And the reason that I came to that obvious conclusion was watching people that normally would have been small government constitutionalists were like, yeah, this time we're okay. Because I know they'll be duped again. I know they will. And to me, this is just how my brain works. I don't know if other people draw these connections. It's very similar. To me, this moment was similar to I gotta be careful about talking about this on Twitch, the grooming gangs in the UK, right?
Yeah.
And when I saw that basically it's no longer a conspiracy, it is the official narrative of all of these cities in the UK, right? The UK, a country that you would say, maybe other than Canada, is most in common with the United States, right? When their official narrative now is like, okay, well, the police in these areas knew about this for 20, 30 years. And yes, there were tens of thousands of girls that were brutally gang raped, for years on end. That's true. And the police knew about it. But, they didn't act. And the British people didn't stand up and say, this is not acceptable. Who has been held to account? Where are the chiefs of police? Where are the local politicians? Who has been held to account? No one. No one. And I can't think of anything more heinous than the systemic abuse of children like that. And they're so placated that they just accepted it. Well, we'll change things in the future. They're fucked. Because if that doesn't get you fired up to say, this government is so corrupt, how could this be allowed to happen? How could no one be held to account? Well, then what happens when they're passing a bill that says, oh, you can't, we have to police what people are saying on social media. That just passed in the UK, right? They're sending out letters to places like Rumble saying, Russell Brand can't be on your platform, or maybe you won't be allowed to stream here in the UK. That's what I envision for the United States in the future. If we accepted this shit with these lockdowns, if we said, as adults, we're afraid, therefore we'll punish the children, once we've adapted that framework, where does it end? And maybe it does. Maybe people wake up, but that's my fear.
I just want to address something. Somebody mentioned, what is your IP? Okay. Mentioned about Canada honoring the Ukrainian Nazi. Yeah. So here's the thing that I've been seeing with just any number of different things going on throughout the world recently. I have come to the conclusion that we did not win World War II. That we stopped the military ambitions of Nazis at the time of World War II, but what we really did was we just dispersed them across the globe, absorb them into our populations everywhere where we could find reason to do so because of their scientific acumen and so on and so forth. And now, over time, decades, they have, been part of any number of different large corporations, whether it's, the German corporations that provided their military hardware at the time, Volvo, etc., onwards from there. Companies that provided systems like IBM. And then you have our own country that has various different military industrial complex companies that absorbed any number of these scientists in, as well as NASA and so on and so forth. And at this point, I believe we're seeing a resurgence of all of the ideology that they had before out in the open, coming right back out into the open.
I don't really agree. I don't really agree with that. I don't think that we're secretly infiltrated by Nazis that, hate Jews and they're really running the show.
It just happened.
Well, no, I don't think that's what's going on. I think what's happening is that authoritarian regimes and governments have always sought to achieve more power for themselves and powerful people and oligarchs and stuff like that. And what they realize is there are several ideologies that allow them to achieve that power. So, for example, communism. There are people that are legitimate communists, but the people in power that are sort of advocating for communist-like policies, they don't give two shits about the workers.
They're just looking for a payout. They don't
care. The Soviet Union, Stalin, they didn't give two shits about the workers. And those in the party that did care about the workers quickly forgot about it as they were fighting all of these ghosts, etc., that basically made it meaningless by the end of it because they were literally abusing the workers more than anyone else, right? The same with these Nazis, right? Like, so Hitler was able to find some things, or the Nazi party was able to find some things, as all of these authoritarian parties do, that were real criticism. So they were able to look at real things, particularly after World War I, that was leading to terrible situations in Germany. And they were able to take those real things that were happening and then consolidate more power for themselves, and then, you know, go to the ends that we see. Certainly, the United States, through Operation Paperclip and other places, happily accepted many of these people that committed all sorts of heinous war crimes because they were people that could benefit, right? But I don't think that the ideology of Nazism, as we think of it in Germany, World War II, I don't think that that's what's running the show. I think what it is that there are tools that were used by Nazis, just like tools that were used by the Soviets, that people now in the United States, because what separated the United States, theoretically, was our foundational documents, right? This was the first country that explicitly put in their foundational documents that the individual was what was important, not the collective, not an oligarchy, not a king, right? Something like that. And so what happened was, and you could hear Yuri Brezhnev, who, you know, fled the Soviet Union, talk about this. We had these people that had this sort of goal for this authoritarianism that said, we want power and we want to utilize the tools that these authoritarian countries like the Soviet Union or like Mussolini or Hitler, we want to have the power like they had, but we can't because of the setup of the United States and their foundational documents. It's going to be more of a progress. We're going to have to do it slowly. And I do agree with that. I do think that there are people, certainly that used to be Nazis, certainly that were Soviets, etc., but I don't think that that ideology is necessarily what's permeating. It's just the tools that they were using were things that are now being used by the United States. I think more than more than the Nazis, like looking at what happened with the Nazis, which was sort of came to power using, you know, the dominant race and fear of that dominant race. But I think
I don't want to talk over you.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to say like the Nazism of World War II is what we're dealing with now. It has adapted over time and changed its methodology. It's not Nazism in the strictest sense. It is straight up just authoritarianism, fascism as its, you know, main goal.
And I think, to me,
itself as the upper echelon, and then everybody else that isn't part of the upper crust is just serfs, period. Across the world.
I mean, to me, I say this all the time. I think what they want is a neo-feudal society. They want a globalist society that erodes national boundaries because they understand the biggest impediment to achieving sort of a globalist, those with power rule everything, are countries that have a wealthy middle class, particularly the United States, but also other Western countries. And so they have a multi-pronged attack on that, on demonizing those countries, on changing the demographics of those countries.
Also being well-armed.
What's that?
A wealthy middle class and also a population that's well-armed.
Right. And so they're attacking that. They attack the national identity. They want to displace the people. They want to
poverty, and then also simultaneously attacking our right to self-defense, trying to disarm us all.
Right. So they want to displace the population. They want to make them compliant on the government. They want to attack their identity. They want to, do everything possible to make things in a situation where people no longer identify as nationalists, no longer have pride in like being in the United States, that are no longer trying to be self-sufficient, no longer trying to create businesses.
Apathy and unwillingness to fight
so when you look, like, there's a litany of things that all of these policies make sense. Then Open borders makes sense. Yes, displace the people. Lockdowns and control makes sense. It eroded small businesses, made people more compliant, more dependent on the government, right? Sending the wealth of this country to other countries makes sense. Looking at yourself as a global citizen as opposed to a national citizen, it makes sense. Attacking people based on their racial identity that are the majority group. Attacking people based on their religion like Christianity that's a majority group. All of this makes sense, right? It's what they want is you totally rely on the government, and it's sort of a Faustian bargain. What they say is, listen, we'll give you everything you need. We'll give you bread. We'll give you circuses, right? We'll do all that shit. And we're only asking one thing. We're only asking one thing in return. Total fealty to us. That's it.
Right.
And it's very similar to sort of the serf-like system that we saw with feudalism, where there are the kings living on the hills, and there's the rest of us. Right, and I think that, so in that sense, I agree. That to me is where I see this going. I think that, and this isn't something that I came up with myself. There have been people that have been labeled conspiracy theorists that have been talking about this for a long, long time. But I agree that's ultimately what's going on, and it's all about systems of control. That's what it's about, and the idea is they think they're better. They almost look at you like you're a different species than them. They don't give a shit.
That's why they're telling you to eat the bug.
It's why, like, you can see... go ahead.
That's why they're telling you to eat the bugs, because it's not like people ever willingly eat bugs out of their own capability to do so, that haven't been brainwashed to do it, or aren't in a severe survival situation where that's one of the only things available. People naturally eat a range of things between meats, vegetables, carbs, etc. But bugs aren't normally on the menu, because the kind of insect exoskeletons is not healthy for human beings. Otherwise, everybody would have already been eating bugs everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's constant. That's definitely part of it. Like, the idea that they're getting rid of all of these fertilizers that's literally leading to people starving in, like, sub-Saharan African countries. They don't give a shit. They don't care. It's all about controlling. It's all about making it reliant. The thing I would say is it's even subconscious in them, right? So, like... You look at a situation like Stacey Abrams, right? So she goes into this school, right? Now, most of the students in this school in this picture are thin. We know that young people are very low risk for COVID. Thin people, right. Very low risk for COVID. Here's Stacey Abrams, an older person who happens to be overweight. And yet she takes this photo where she's not wearing a mask, but all the kids are forced to wear masks. And the first question I had was... Well, why politically would she do that, right? Wasn't there anyone there to be like, hey, Stacey, put the fucking mask on for 3 seconds while the picture gets taken because we're going to send it out for PR. But the thing is, they don't give a rat's ass who the kids are. Well, right, but that's the thing. I know, and you know, that they don't give a rat's ass to the kids. But the question is, they give a shit about maintaining power, and they know that this is something that normies would look at and go, wait a minute, what the fuck, right? So why wouldn't they do this? And there's two possible answers to this. The first is, it's so ingrained to them that they're better than you, it doesn't even cross their mind. Like, it literally doesn't cross their... Of course you plebes need to wear masks. I don't. I'm one of the good people. I'm one of the powerful. The rules don't apply to me. They don't apply to... It doesn't even... They've lived that way for so long. It's been ingrained in them so long. It's been ingrained for so long that they just... It doesn't even cross their mind. Or they want you to know. They want you to know, like, get used to it. This is the way it is. Yes, we tell you you can't go eat. We tell you you can't go out, and then we go out to the French Laundry. We tell you that you can't have a funeral for your dad that died, and then we have a massive funeral for John Lewis. We tell you that you can't have wedding celebrations, and then Obama has a big party at Martha's Vineyard, right?
That's exactly what they're trying to normalize in the subconscious of everyone everywhere, basically. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And you just shut up and take it and do whatever they tell you to. Yeah. Period.
Yeah, I agree.
Or they will deperson you, debank you, get you out of your job, get you fired. They'll ruin you, basically, if you make enough noise that you become a problem for them, is what it boils down to.
Totally agreed. So I'm going to wrap up here soon. But yeah, thanks so much, Wolf's Reign, for calling in. I really appreciate it. I do.
Thanks for having me on, Rob.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much.
All right, have a good night.
Yep, you too. No, I agree. I agree with pretty much everything he's saying there. But yeah, so that's good. Had a call with someone that agrees with me, and then a call with someone who's just... When you want to... let's see, Econo Boy. I could do Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night next week. Any of those days would work. Yeah, DM me. That's cool. But yeah, those I got called into work Saturday, so I will be off the clock Saturday night, but I probably won't be able to stream Saturday night because the nature of me getting called into work is that I'll be doing some extra stuff. But then Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, I should be good after 8 p.m. So yeah, go ahead and message me. But yeah, just going back to the In Pursuit of Knowledge guy, it is amazing to me when someone is so arrogant like that. That is such a collection of traits. Complete and total arrogance while also being completely inept. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing to see that. It really is. So, anyways, we were talking about Bidenomics. I didn't get to the other point. We talked a little about Biden personally getting this money wired to his home. No doubt you'll see, as I said, people will say, but Hunter Biden lived there. By the way, we don't know that. It's actually very difficult to find out. There are properties that were in Hunter Biden's name, but I've also read before this that there were accusations that Hunter Biden was living in Delaware with his dad. So it'll be difficult. It's difficult to pin down exactly where he was living when these two payments came in. Nonetheless, again, this is more reason that there should be an audit of the bank accounts, not just of Hunter Biden, but his family members, including Joe Biden, to see where this money was coming from. Right? That's something that, should occur. Why didn't this come up previously? This may have been a reason that the IRS were seeking to go to that property. And remember, the IRS whistleblowers were told it would be bad for optics to go into the president's property. Well, maybe the fact that they were aware that there were payments from this Chinese company going directly to Joe Biden's property. That would be a reason to investigate that property. That would be a reason to investigate the bank accounts of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden to see where that money went. Why weren't we made aware of this in 2019? And the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly, and again, I am going to wrap up here before 11. It can't be overstated how horrific our mainstream media is. And I understand that people say that they don't trust the mainstream media, and I believe that's true. But the mainstream media still has a huge role in crafting the narrative of what people talk about. I mean, we were told over and over and over that this Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. Major news outlets reported it as such. They were completely fine with social media companies censoring the story. They were fine with 51 former intel agents saying that this was Russian disinformation. Where are their mea culpas? For that matter, where are their mea culpas for the breathless, unending Trump-Russia collusion that ended up being bullshit? Where is it? And yet, if you follow people's accounts in the mainstream media, they're like, it's time to stop, trying to be neutral. Now it's time to really go after Trump. I said this well into the 2020 election cycle, and certainly after. The election was stolen. Who knows what the situation is? Hopefully we get to the bottom of actual ballots, chain of custody, things like that. There are significant questions that need answered. But even barring all of that, those that shape our public narrative, our intel agencies, our mainstream media, the people that run social media, They put their thumb on the scale in such a significant way that in an election that was basically decided by 45,000 people, they effectively stole the election. And no one seems to give a shit. No one. If we don't hold those people accountable, if we don't change that system that allows algorithms to manipulate so many votes and social media to, demonetize or shadow ban or straight up ban opinions that they don't like. And it's getting worse. We can see other countries that we consider free countries or countries similar to the United States, like the UK. It's getting worse. They're going to try to do it here as well. I saw recent polling, which granted you have to take polling with a grain of salt, but that said something like over 50% of Democrats don't believe in free speech anymore. They don't give a shit. You talk to these people and they're like, Twitter files, it's a nothing burger. The FBI gaslighting social media companies and in some instances straight up telling them to remove posts almost exclusively on one side of the political ledger. And you're like, that's okay. The lies become more and more blatant. More and more blatant. What crisis at the border? They can't be bothered. They can't be bothered. They couldn't be bothered to talk to Hunter Biden's business partner. Yep, can't be bothered. We're just going to ignore it. Whatever. Moving on. Trump allegedly was going to buy a gun yesterday. That was the news cycle for 12 hours. Hundreds of thousands of illegals coming a month across the border? Nothing to see here. What border crisis? Kids in cages? Huh? Who was ever concerned about that? Where's some intrepid reporter from the mainstream media doing like investigations on, I don't know, all of the alleged fraud that came with the massive spending in COVID stimulus? Billions upon billions of dollars, we're being told, were fraudulently handed out to people. Where's the reporting? Nothing. The odd article or something. Anyways, did you see Taylor Swift was at the Kansas City Chiefs game? Oh boy. I remember I was on Twitter the other day, a couple weeks ago, and someone said, and I believe this, they were like, I was in Middle America, a place that was very enthusiastic about Trump in 2016, and, no one's really talking about the double standards at the FBI. No one's really fired up about that. There's a lack of enthusiasm. I believe that. They're winning. That's what's happening. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. They are. They're winning. The bullshit is so fast, so frequent now, the lies so blatant, that the average person just throws up their hands and says, I don't even know what to do with this. Whatever. Left-wingers firebomb a police car, their lawyers, we'll give them a slap on the wrist. Right-winger wasn't even at January 6th. 17 years. Ray Epps gets disorderly conduct. They're cheering Nazis in fucking Parliament in Canada. Oh, oops. Oh, shit. Whatever. Pipe bomb? What pipe bomb? Huh? What? And the majority of people just don't know. They don't give a shit. Orange man bad. That's the left. People on the right, Well, you got your grifters that are making money. They don't give a shit. Then you got your average people that are just, I don't fucking know. I'm busy. I'm trying to survive. I don't have time to look into all this shit. I'm over it. It's so corrupt. It's so much negativity. It's so much bullshit. The economy's doing great. There's no border crisis. How many times are we getting, no one's having explicit books in libraries for kids, but if they are, it's a good thing. There's no border crisis, but if there is, it's a good thing. I have to look into this more, but this case that Trump just got rolled against here, the allegations seem to be that he was overvaluing his assets when he was getting bank loans and things like that. And so that's corrupt, and so they're going to issue some sort of penalty for him. Now, this could be bullshit. This could be a bullshit story, but I did look into this a little before I came on. It seems that part of the statement from the court said that Trump overvalued Mar-a-Lago 2,800%. when he claimed that it was worth like hundreds of millions of dollars. And I believe the math on that is they're saying that the actual value of Mar-a-Lago is $18 million. That's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. There are people all over X right now like, dude, here's the same neighborhood, like literally just property with trees, with no home for $20 million. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't mean... it just allows him to go, Trump was convicted of another thing. He's been convicted and indicted of so many things that must prove that he's guilty. When I was on with Destiny the other day, explaining the Burisma situation, what he says at the end was he's like, well, you know, when you talk about double standard, Trump's just, he looks so dirty, he looks so bad, he looks so guilty, he lies all the time. And I was like, well, you don't think Joe Biden does? Like the plagiarism scandal in the 80s? You know, the constant lies that that's different. I mean, basically what he's saying is Trump's not a likable guy, so fuck him. The double standards are blatant for anyone who takes even a cursory look. You have people on the left that I'll debate, someone like Pisco, that will try to go through these things. What this fucking idiot doesn't get is eventually this double standard will be employed against people that he likes. And then he'll be out there screaming into the wind. And I don't give a fuck. I won't give a fuck at all. If Pisco is a lawyer, ends up working for a firm where he is representing some politician that is accused of something, and Pisco, now attorney-client privilege out the fucking window, and they decide they're going to charge him as well, that's the system that he's cheered for. Thank you, Get Fork Bish. Hopefully other people have sweet dreams tonight. I don't know that my dream would be Nancy Pelosi, but... You know, it's like this. I started off talking about illegal immigration. Too much in New York. We're a sanctuary city, but it's too much for us. Too much in Martha's Vineyard. But trust us, the illegals are great, just not in our neighborhood. I'll be talking to Econoboy next week. Don't think I'll let this slide. People well respected in the field of economics who cheered for lockdowns. Never mind that, though. Listen to my other economic theories. I'm married. Pentuple. Pass on everyone. Except Mrs. Noor. Alright. Let's find a raid. Probably won't be streaming tomorrow. Hopefully Thursday. Well, I don't know. I might not stream Thursday. I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to stream Thursday. I'm not going to stream tomorrow or Thursday. The reason being, because I get called into work early, so I only get Wednesday night and Thursday and Friday with my wife and my son, so I'm going to spend time with them. But maybe I'll do a little stream on the phone or some shit like that that'll be Twitch exclusive. I'm still trying to put up. I should have another YouTube short and TikTok tomorrow. So be sure to check those out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 people on TikTok so that I could live stream there as well. Who we raiding? Whick. Looks great. Nico Pluto dropped $125. That is absolutely fucking insane. Thank you, Corwin. Appreciate the follow. Seriously, Nico, it's unbelievable. Thank you so much. I don't know, something's wrong with y'all's people's head that donate that much money. Now, it is very much appreciated. All of you that donate, even with your subs, even those that don't donate, I thank you all. But that's above and beyond. Donated $125. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So thank you so much, Nico. It's really appreciated. I wish I could do more. I really do. I know. I always thought this was funny. I'll do a little tirade here before I leave. I always thought it was funny when I was a debate coach. Because you have to understand, when I was a college student, I was a fucking alcoholic. I partied my ass off. I was serious about debate. My debate coach used to tell us all the time, you could get good grades, you could have a social life, and you could have an extracurricular in college. Pick 2, but you can't do 3. If you're having a pretty good social life and you're getting good grades, you're probably not going to do very well at that extracurricular. And as debate coaches, that's one of the things we are concerned with, right? So it's like, we wanted you to have good grades and we wanted you to do well at debate. But if you're going out partying all the time, well, either your grades or debate's going to suffer. For me, it was grades. My grades suffered. I was still doing good at debate. I was definitely doing good drinking. My grades not so hot. But I always thought it was funny when... Thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate the sub. I do. Thank you. One of the things that I always thought was funny was like, you'd tell people like, hey, read this article, then we'll do a practice debate tomorrow. And then, they'd show up the next day late and they'd be like, oh, I just didn't have time. Yeah, you did. You did have time. You did. Saying I didn't have time would mean what? That literally you were busy every minute since yesterday to today? Bullshit. You had other priorities. You chose to do things over this. Maybe they were important things. Maybe you had to go help your family, or maybe you had a job. But you had time. You could have squeezed in 20 minutes. And that's the truth about me. I can sit here and say, oh, I wish I had more time. I do. I do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, I'm such a busy person that as soon as I leave here, I'm being productive at work and then I'm being productive with my family. It's bullshit. It is. When I say I wish I had more time, what I mean is I wish I had more fuck around time that would enable me to stream more. That's what I mean. That's the truth. But I am busy, and I think family is very important. But I know I should do more. I know. And I take it hardest on myself. Like when 2020 went the way it did, and I knew what that meant for the country, I could have pointed fingers, and I did to some extent. Same with 2022. But ultimately, the person I blame is myself. I could have been out there registering more voters. I could have been holding Pennsylvania politicians' feet to the fire before they voted for the fucking insanely stupid changes to the way we vote that all but ensures Democrats win every election in Pennsylvania in perpetuity. Supported by Republicans in my state. I was silent. I didn't even know about it until it happened. That's me. So I wish that I had more influence. I wish that I was more consistent. I wish that I was more informed on things. But you get what you get. So I do appreciate, despite all of my shortcomings, people supporting me financially, people supporting me with your eyeballs, watching when I'm streaming. I really appreciate it. And a special shout out again to Nico for just going above and beyond. Really, really crazy donating that much money. So thank you all so much. We're going to raid Whick. Now, Wick's a dirty, dirty lefty, but I think he's a likable guy. So be nice. What am I talking to Destiny again? I don't know. I guess I'll have to reach out. Destiny streams more during the day, and that's difficult for me. So I'll try to keep in contact with him, and we'll try to do that again. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed this raid of Whick. I should be talking to you. Just follow my YouTube, follow my TikTok. You'll see me putting more short content, and then you might see me do an impromptu live stream here in the next couple days. But try to set up that conversation with the Boy, more conversation with Destiny, and we'll keep working to try to get on Tim Pool or something like that. So thank you all so much. I appreciate all of you, especially Nico today. Thank you so much. As always, everyone, have a good one.